Okay, so now at long last, let's get to the top 20, right? So
Right.
allow me to kick things off. Basically, what I will just do for those who have a 20 list, we'll just run through 20 to 10, and then
Okay.
later on, when everybody else is done, we'll just run through from 10 to, I should say 20, 11, and then when everybody else is done, we do from 10 to 1. So we're not gonna do everyone's 10 and everyone nines and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
In my case, I picked films that were released theatrically or streaming this year. Some of the films were released before, like last year, in film festivals or whatnot, right? But
Right.
yeah, majority of these films kind of came out this year. I had to
Mhm.
kind of squeeze in a few honorable mentions in this one here, but I do have an honorable mentions this as well.
Right.
Um, and just to get out of the way too, as I've always done on this program here, I have a few guilty pleasure movies of 2020. I don't know if you guys
Right.
have any as well, right?
I
So
right. So
yeah.
for me, in my case, I just what I did is I just throw a bunch of things in a garbage bag in one thing, and then I have my top 10. So my my honorable mentions is a huge list, but just a bunch of stuff that I just watched that for the year, and that wasn't so bad. I watched this for the year, and that wasn't so bad. Hey, that was cool. So that's pretty much my honorable mention. It is massive list of stuff, but you'll probably hear a bunch of stuff we mentioned already. And then I have a clear 10. You'll get a clear 10 when the clear 10 start.
All right, all
But,
right, all right.
right, yeah.
So basically, what we'll do, right? We'll just run through honorable mentions and then jump into our list, right? So whether it's 20 to 11 or later on, 10 to 1, right? So guilty pleasure movies of 2020. Just running through them quickly. VFW, which is a
Right.
movie I didn't know
Yeah.
about until you brought it up, Ricardo. I
Yeah.
watched it
Yeah.
out as you
Hard.
told me about it. I was like,
Yeah,
this
real
hard,
hard.
it's real hard.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Yep.
basically this throwback to ET, specifically ET's grimy grindhouse cinema, though. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
really, really dug it. I actually shared my review of it on Instagram. You know what I mean? Well, I didn't tag. I actually had the director's name. I forgot his name. You know what I mean? As a hashtag, and he actually liked the review. So like, what? You know what I mean? Man, like,
Good.
go
Good.
on, do it. You
Nice
know what I mean?
man.
So it's great.
Nice man.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You're moving up in life.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Moving on up to the east side. Moving on up to the east
all
side.
I get is two Star Trek actors like it at tweet. Yeah, you're moving up in life.
Yeah. Also keeping with the grindhouse action schlockiness, Guns Akimbo. Yes, the
Nice.
premise
Yeah. Right.
ridiculous, and yes, the ending could have been a little better. But other than that, though, I dug the hell out of this premise. Though it was
Right.
every bit as over the top as I expected to be. I mean, Daniel Radcliffe, being the action star, was I mean, this kind of unintentional action star was great as well. So really dug the hell out of that one. And I had to bring up this one by Mortal Kombat Legend, Scorpion's Revenge.
Whoa.
Yes,
You
this
like
Yeah.
this,
was
right?
every bit as brutal and over the top as the modern games are. And all I'll say is that the bar was set more or less with this film here. And now I
Right.
can't wait to see what the 2021 film, because yes, one of them saying, yeah, we get this thing in 2021, right? That's what they
Right.
say. Okay. I want to see how they could top this one here, because they can't go back to 1995 Mortal Kombat. They can't go back to that movie again. Nuh-uh. Nah,
Right.
they have to go to modern, Mortal Kombat gaming, right? And that's why I felt that this animated feature here nailed perfectly, right? As far as honorable mentions go, I have to give it to well, one of them just so happens to be Mank. Yes,
Right. Right.
while we did have issues, Ricardo and I had issues with the story, what they were seeing. Technically, this is a marvel, though. David Fincher really outdid himself here. Not just technically, but like audio, sonically as well. To the sound design is Oscar worthy, in my opinion. Because yeah, if you've checked out like older films like from the 40s and 50s, it has that kind of slight hollowness to it. Yeah, Fincher and them recreate that sound for this movie, and I'm like, what? Okay, this is where we at. All right, cool. But yeah, this is a must-see for film fans, like really die-hard film fans. But I imagine if you're relevant to film history, you'll appreciate it more. But unfortunately, I feel for everybody else, you'll just kind of feel left out. You'll just be like, okay, it looked good, but all right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, a little controversial pick here, but I really had to mention this here. Cuties. Yes,
Okay.
this
Right.
movie
Wow.
Oh,
received
Yeah.
very,
I
very
forgot about
negative
it.
reaction. Well,
Yeah.
controversial, I should say. Yeah. No points to Netflix for that poster they put out here,
Oh
but it's
God.
just a
Yeah.
story that worked for me. It's very provocative, very thought provoking, and I really feel it's something that needs to I would say parents need to check out as well too, and you
Right.
really talk to their daughters about that kind of thing. Because yeah, I mean, stuff like this exists in the world. These influences, right, as far as sexualization, I mean, of females, right, especially with music videos and all that kind of stuff, and that's something that needs to be addressed. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
Or at least
agreed.
examined. That's what. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a
Also,
movie that suffered from poor marketing, and
Horrible.
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
people didn't give it the chance it deserved because of that horrible marketing. So,
Agreed, agreed, agreed. Just right through the others quick. I have Enola Holmes, which
Yep.
yes, I
hmm
thoroughly enjoyed. I
yep,
mean, Millie Bobby
Mm-hmm.
Brown was
Mm-hmm.
just great. She just had the charm, charisma,
Yeah, that's
sweet,
so
and all that
nice.
too. And Henry Cavill as Sherlock too. Yeah, I mean, it actually worked. It actually worked, right? Um, Ricardo, you might get mad at me for this one, but Small Axe Education and Alex Wheatle. While I did
Listen.
enjoy them, I have just like spoiler, I have the first three up there on my list. Not as high as
No.
you would expect though, but they're up there. But they're
No.
still
Yeah.
entertaining films
I,
nonetheless.
I only have I only have one of the small axes on my list. So yeah.
Okay, 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 all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also a little, I want to call it an indie film, but a film that a lot of people were praising the hell out of, and I actually checked it out, even though it's not for me because I'm not white. Sorry. This would be Never Really, Sometimes Always.
I've been hearing
Right.
good things about
Yeah,
that.
really, really
Yeah.
solid drama as well too. But I don't know. I'm a guy, and I don't know. I guess if you're a woman, you really don't get. But that's just me. Same thing goes for The Assistant, which was a solid
Right.
drama as well. But yeah, once again, I not in that category, but still the subject matter really connect to the actress who played, who was in it as well. Just that performance is so subdued, and you really do feel sorry for her throughout this film. And now I'm just gonna run through 20 to 11 quickly. Number 20, Beastie Boys story. This was
Okay.
from Apple TV. This was a documentary, more or less like this live, not so much a performance, but just the two remaining members of Beastie Boys, just telling their story, right? Spike Jones, who's a longtime friend of theirs and who directed some of their most awesomest videos, he directed it as well, and just them just talking about the band and just basically how their music and how their viewpoint on lives just on life, sorry, just evolve over their like almost 3 decade run, right? And yeah, I would say
Mm-hmm.
whether you're a fan of the group or not, yeah, it's a high recommendation. Number 19, the only incredibly decent action film I've seen all year, boy. It's a shame. Bad Boys for Life, boy.
Okay,
Mm.
that
Wow.
came
This
out
was
this
the
year.
only
Yep.
Yeah,
great,
yeah,
Wow.
Early
this
this
year.
consistent,
year.
great
Yeah.
Yeah.
action movie I have seen all year. I had to put this on my list. And in any normal situation, this would easily be an honorable mention, boy. But this year I was like, now let me give Will Smith and Martin Lawrence a little blind. Could they really come through with what I honestly think is the best Bad Boys movie ever? And I know that's
Same.
really not saying a
Yeah.
lot, boy, but they really
No,
shocked me with
I
this one.
agree. I agree with that one. It is the best of the bunch.
Yeah, just these smart calls as well. I know the guys who directed this try to capture the feel of Michael Bay's the B isms and all that kind of stuff whilst trying to do their own thing. So it's kind of like this uneven balance. But still, just seeing the guys back again doing their thing, though, just made for great viewing in my opinion.
Hmm.
Number 18, we have Bad Education. This features an
Right.
excellent performance
Yeah,
from Hugh Jackman,
Hugh
That was
very
Jackman.
good.
Oscar worthy in my opinion. And yeah, just that story as well too of how a teacher who who means well and wants to do good, right, could just slide, boy. Just fall back so bad, boy. Yeah, great performance from Hugh Jackman, right? Number 17, Wolf Walkers.
Right.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
this was a really really
Yay!
great
Yeah.
animated feature as well. Yeah, this show had some stunning animation though. I really dug the voice acting as well. And there's a lot of wolf hate in it though, but it's justified. But yeah, I really, really thoroughly enjoyed Wolfwalkers for sure. Number 16, though I did find it to be a little Oscar beaty. I mean, I can't knock it for its greatness. However, the Trial of the Chicago Seven.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. This was one. I mean, Aaron Sorkin really came through with a powerful story, powerful script. sorry, well written script, great performances from Sacha Baron Cohen among others, and yeah, I mean, I do see this showing up. I have a feeling it's going to get nominated for something. Maybe not best movie of the year. Who knows? But yeah, this is another win for Netflix as far as getting the Academy to zero in on them now. Number 15. This is another action film here, but this was one that at first I was like, all right, I see where you're getting at, kind of overambitious though, but it just didn't work. But the second viewing I gave it, and yes, I set
Mm-hmm.
myself out here. This is one that requires a second viewing. That's when I was like, okay, now I see what he's trying to do. Still overambitious, but I get what he's trying to do here. And with more viewings, I guess I'll understand the story even more. Tenet.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, this one is both intentionally and unintentionally dense though. Like it feels convoluted and confusing for the sake of it though.
Right.
But I mean, I'm a Nolan stan, you know what I mean? So I just dug what he was doing, and just the mere fact that he's, having, all this inverted time and stuff going on at the same time. I guess a really cool moments out of that as well too. So while it's not my all-time favorite Nolan film, it is easily his most ambitious film, and yes, I know drama in terms of putting it out. You had to see it in theaters, right? But yeah, just glad I was able to see it for a second time. I think this one deserves credit, right? Number 14. Thank you, Ricardo, for putting me on this one, boy. Lupin the Third, the
Right.
first.
Yeah.
Yes. Best anime movie of the year. And I know this movie came out in
Okay.
2019, but see what? I haven't watched a lot of anime this year. I'm sorry, but my God, Lupin the 31st was just amazing though. The animation alone is worth checking out though. And yeah, just take you back to that old school adventure vibe, right? And I was watching this, I was like, really and truly Spielberg dropped the ball. He could have taken this, he could have adapted this. Cause
Mm.
no, either him or somebody else, either Del Toro or Rodriguez or one of those guys wanted to make I think it was a live action version of this. But I'm
Right.
glad that at least we got this photorealistic animated take on it on this character one again. And it's just paying tribute to the creator of the series as well, which was nice as well. And yeah, like I
Yeah.
said, it's just this throwback escapist adventure film, and I can't complain about it, man. So next year we're gonna be getting a French series. I think it's a series or a movie of Lupin, right?
Right.
Which I saw the trailer for, and the English dub is god awful, but
Yeah.
I'll watch it because it's Lupin. It's Lupin, right? I'll watch it. Three more to go. Number 13, we have Sylvie's Love. This was one that I
Right.
reviewed in my previous episode here. This features Tessa Thompson in
Mhm.
it. The guy's name, I can't really, I mean, it's a really long name, right? But
Right.
anyway, this was a throwback to classic romantic films of the 50s and 60s, but just with a black cast. And while I was watching this, I was like, yeah, I'm feeling like I'm watching a film from the 60s, right? And it had a lot of great. Well, it's also celebrates jazz music as well. I just told a really simple, straightforward, but very sweet love story, right? I know for like Die Hard, romantic buffs, they're like, I know where the story going, blah 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 blah. But for me, it was just like it just kind of wraps you up in its warm blanket. And it's like, you know what, just shut up and just watch your damn show. So
Yeah.
yeah, Sylvie's Love number 13. Number 12, a rather unconventional romantic film, or I should say romantic comedy, but more comedy drama, really. Palm Springs.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
one really, really caught me by
Excellent.
surprise, though.
Yes.
Yeah. Not as nihilistic as you may think it is, though. But yeah, we got a great performance from Andy
Samberg.
Samberg. I forgot the co-star for it, right? His romantic
I
lead in
have
it.
her name.
But yeah,
Kristen Malotti.
that's it. That's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thanks for that.
Similar. Yeah.
Yeah. And yes, it's a darker take on Groundhog Day, but it's a
Darker.
more relatable take on it. You know what I mean? That's the idea of just being able to relive the same day over and over, and that's the things that you learn from it. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, it is dark, but it did make me laugh numerous times as well too, and I found it really charming and really heartwarming as well too. And last but not least, number 11, Small Axe, Red, White, and Blue. This is the one that
Okay.
features John Boyega. Really great really unconventional police procedural film, right? You think it's gonna go that way, but like a majority of the films in the Small Axe series, it addresses these topics of racism in the UK back in like the 70s and 80s, right? But yeah, this one we got a strong performance from John. And while the story could have been a tad bit longer, the film itself could have been a tad bit longer. It got its points. It just said what it had to say. And yeah, I thoroughly dug this one. It's not going to be the last Small Axe film that you're going to see on this list here, but yeah, it's up there. All right,
Right.
Ricardo. Ricardo. You said you did 10, right?
Right, right. So I have my 10, I have my honorable mentions list, and then we'll start the top 10. Right,
So
so this
hold
is
on.
no order. This is just a bunch of stuff I watch this year. It's like, oh yeah, that came out this year. All right,
Yeah.
so like go. Rogue, Relic, Sputnik, pretty
Mm-hmm.
good.
Missed
Uh,
that unfortunately.
yeah,
I need to watch that.
yeah. Devil All the Time.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Cuties.
Hmm?
Black is King.
Ah.
Uh,
Ah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Palm Springs. Greyhound. That's what the World War II movie, which was pretty cool.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
Jesus shows you the way to the highway, which I loved.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Uh,
like
Yeah.
that title.
yeah. Never really. Sometimes always.
Oh, never really.
Ammonite.
Never really. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait. Okay. So you actually checked it out then.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
But
thought
that's it.
about
Yeah.
it.
Pretty good. Yeah, I liked it. Yeah. But
Yeah.
again, as you mentioned, it had appeal to you. We had to get into a discussion about that because I want to talk about that thing. Ammonite, right, which was pretty good. The
Mm-hmm.
Hunt, which I liked because people got shot in the face. Um, Project Power,
All
Project
right.
Power,
Yeah.
right,
That's honorable
Yeah.
mention.
Project
Okay.
Power,
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Borat 2, right, Borat 2 in my honorable mentions.
Mhm.
Liked it, not top 10, good.
Yeah.
Greenland was pretty good. That is movie with the
Yeah.
Oh,
Hobbit.
with
Yeah,
Gerard Butler with
Jared
the.
Butler,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Invisible Man, like that. This year, I thought that was pretty good.
That was
Um,
solid.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
Ones I
good.
saw this year. I love that one.
Yeah, right. VFW,
Yes. Yes.
right? Yeah. Justice League, Apocalypse War, Justice League Dark Apocalypse
Yes.
War, right? Enjoy
Oh
that.
yeah, I forgot that.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Destiny Family,
Yeah.
yeah,
You know I'm the Tracy.
yeah, yeah.
Just play Tracy.
Right.
Just
Fresh Prince Family Reunion, really like that. Wolf Walkers, really like that. Um, Possessor, I thought this would have made the top 10, but it
Yes.
did. But
okay.
Possessor is in
Okay.
the
Okay. I
it,
had my
That
it,
was
issues with
fantastic.
it.
right. This one is a controversial call, but I did make the top 10, but I liked it enough. Marimi's Black Bottom. Uh,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Small axe, but not the one small axe, it's the four other small axes. So Lovers Rock, Red, White, and Blue, Alex Wheatle and Education. So you know which one make it the top 10.
Of course.
Right. Um, this one, okay, so this is two really weird choices, but it's a controversial choice. And I told you this ahead of time. So these are the two. It's two video. One is a video essay on YouTube, and the second is a kind of comedy thing on YouTube as well. So it's a YouTube video, two YouTube
Mhm.
videos. But I thought these were so hilarious and brilliant and really well done that they really work for that. So I love the Cody Johnson show. So he basically made a movie of his show called the Some More News movie, our popcorn movie dystopia. It was absolutely hilarious. So it did its own thing as a story, but what it did is cover the whole, all of these 80s movies that talk about now and basically show all of the parallels to now, right?
Oh God.
Okay.
Ahead of
So
time.
like
Yeah,
Yeah.
Blade Runner 2019, but you see 2019 now as it was.
right. Well,
Right.
he just
Right. Right.
he mostly talk about like RoboCop and Running Man and a bunch of stuff there. And it's very up explicitly political, but it's really good, really funny. And then the second one I'll really rate up. I really enjoyed this thing, and I had to give it in the top 10. Not top 10, but more. Sorry, honorable mention for the year. It's a video essay by a guy called Dan Olson, called "In Search of a Flat Earth." This was
Oh wow.
absolutely brilliant, in my opinion, in terms of breaking down like what going on
Yeah.
in the politics of the world. And this man just break that shit down. He started in one way, and then at around the 40-minute mark, it is take a real weird left turn, and it's so good. That's I had to mention it. Anyway, let me see. Oh, Harley Quinn, right? Harley Quinn makes it. Not top 10,
Yep.
but still pretty good. Lovecraft Country, loved it. but not top 10. Still pretty good. That's at least for me. Auntie Donna's Big Old House of Fun. Love that series. Really, really funny. Six-part little thing. These guys are hilarious. I mean, everything is a drum is a classic, right? I gush about it on the show, so you'll take it there. Um, I May Destroy You. Really liked it. Not top 10, but pretty good. Um, The Last Ride, Undertaker. Pretty good. BoJack Horseman, of course. Tiger Hig, of course. Mandalorian, of course. Boys Season 2, of course. Star Trek The Lower Decks. Absolutely love it to
Yes,
bits.
yes,
Right?
yes.
Right. That season one is so good for me. It's really inside baseball for Star Trek fans, but that is good enough for me. Another animated series, Close Enough. That is the guy who made uh he made the show. Uh Gosh, the guy who did he did oh god, who made Close Enough, boy? Shit. Slipping my mind right now. Yeah, but he
Um,
did it's a animated sitcom, but he made a regular show.
First space, is it final? Oh,
No, not Final Space. JG Quintel. He did
okay,
he made a regular show, but he did a animated sitcom this season called Close Enough. Right. So
okay.
had I mentioned that's pretty good. The Midnight Gospel. I really appreciate this on Netflix. Really good. Really, really it's like a kind of psychedelic kind of kind of Mr. Katz kind of thing going on. So it's a kind of psychedelic,
Mm,
but it's like a podcast one time, but they're animating it, like what they're talking about, and they're just having
mhm.
a weird story. It's really, really cool and strange. Warrior Nun. I didn't think this would be all that bad. It's actually pretty
Okay.
good. Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
pretty good. This,
Yeah.
this was pretty good. The last one, well, yeah. Sabrina, of course, that was pretty good. And then Mank. That's the last
Yeah.
honorable mention. So yeah, that's just a ridiculously long list of stuff that I like this year, but I couldn't really rank it because
Right.
I just
Right.
threw it in a garbage bag and I just couldn't remember anything properly because this year was insane.
Yeah. All right. So little detour, right? So just to be sure. Alice, you have a top 20 or a 10?
I actually have a top 20.
A top
Yeah,
20. Okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, Alice, if you don't mind, can you run through your top 20 to 11 best of movies, or and of course, including honorable mentions?
Okay, I just have a couple honorable mentions. My first honorable mention is the Netflix Mexican horror called The Day of Our Lord,
Ooh,
which
love
is
the title.
kind of like an Exorcist meets the Hostel kind of vibe. It was surprisingly good, and it ended very open-ended, where it looks like it's gonna have a sequel, which I'm pretty excited for. I don't think I haven't heard a lot of people mention it, so I think it might have slipped under a lot of people's radar. But
Right.
you should check it out. Um, I'm surprised that nobody mentioned Mulan. I don't know if some of you guys
I
it.
have Mulan.
I know a lot of
I
people
have
hate
Mulan too.
it. I
I have,
don't hate Mulan. I don't hate
yeah,
Mulan. That's all I'll say.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You know, visually it was
Double
very,
failure.
very, very pleasing. You know, and I didn't find the actress did a bad job at all.
Yeah,
Um,
Mulan and my noble failure, if it's anything. Yeah. I kind of forget about it, frankly.
It was a
Guns
nice
Akimbo.
wuxia film. Like if you want to see
Huh?
Disney do like a Chinese wuxia film, that's what
Yeah,
Mulan was, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. It wasn't perfect, but I thought it was good. Um, Guns Akimbo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
I really, really enjoyed it, and it was nice to see Daniel Radcliffe in that kind of gritty kind of role. Greyhound as well is in my honorable
Yeah.
mention.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Loved it.
yeah, that's basically it for my honorable mentions. Well, number 20. Well, again, this is in no particular ranking or anything like that. It's just how I wrote it down. I have Greenland.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed it very much. Jared Butler came out very strong in this one. The past couple movies, with the exception of Angel Has Fallen, he didn't do too well in them. So I was very happy that Greenland did very well.
Hmm.
Um, this one, again, I don't know if many people know about this one. It was only a 12-minute film that was released on Netflix as an animation done in black and white called If Anything Happens, I Love You.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. I reviewed it. Basically, it's to get the gist of it is how parents deal with the sudden death of their child. When you look at the animation, you realize that if anything happens, I love you is the actual last text message that they got from their daughter. It's based on, when there was a time in America where there were a lot of shootings in schools and some
Right.
children were killed. It's like based around that timeline. So a shooting happens, and the daughter gets killed, and that's the last text message that they receive. And basically, it's a representation of how the parents' marriage was kind of drifting apart because they were dealing with their grief in different ways. But somehow the daughter's spirit was able to get them back together, and all of that is in 12 minutes.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And just have a box of tissues nearby when you're watching it because I cried like a baby. Um,
Mm.
Number 18 on my list is Nobody Sleeps in the Woods Tonight.
Right.
Um,
I heard of that. I believe I
Yeah,
did.
I was disappointed, but yeah,
you were
I can see.
disappointed.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. It
wasn't.
it, it starts off. It's the first act is strong, the rest of it drags, and it just it's forgettable for me.
Okay,
But
well, I
yeah,
enjoy the heck out of it. I
yeah,
find that it revitalized the slasher genre in the horror movies. I quite enjoyed it. It wasn't perfect, but I quite enjoyed it, and it was good enough to make my top 20. Um,
nice.
Number 17 is another horror movie called The Call, but not the American version. This is the Korean one that was released on Netflix, I think last
Yeah,
month or month before.
yeah.
Yeah, it was,
Guys think
well,
the Frequency as a horror movie.
Right. Okay.
You're right.
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kim
I don't want to reveal too
Caviezel
much.
and Dennis Quaid. Yeah, it
Mm.
was really good.
Yeah, it was really, really well done. Number 16 is an Indian horror movie called Mrs. Serial Killer.
Okay.
I enjoyed that one so much. I watched it twice this year.
Nice. I
Yeah.
love the fact that you're bringing out these non-American, non-Netflix releases, So yeah, that good call, man.
Yeah, yeah, it was really well. I mean, there's some hilarity in it, but there's also a darkness in it when the whole story is revealed. So it's very entertaining. Um,
Matt, it is a Netflix film, by the way. You can find it if you want to check it out.
Oh, okay. All
yeah,
right.
on
These films,
Netflix.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
Number 15 is The Devil All the Time. Um, that one,
Nice.
yeah, that one really is one of those films that gets you thinking.
Yeah.
It was really enjoyable to see Tom Holland play that kind of gritty kind of role where he had to kind of man up, so to say. And it's very dark and gruesome, but I enjoyed it for what it was.
Right.
Um, Number 14. I haven't heard anybody mention this as yet. Eurovision, the story of Fire Saga.
Okay.
I've been
I didn't. I heard
hearing
about
good
this, but I
things
didn't
about
see
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I I enjoyed it for what it is because after I've heard about the Eurovision Song Contest, but let's just say I became obsessed with the contest after I saw the movie because the songs are so over the top and epic, and it reminded me of those kind of, I'm into like symphonic goth rock, and it kind of reminded me of that. So it kind of revitalized my interest in European rock, so to say. But Will Ferrell, he is just over the top sometimes, but the strange thing is that he had such good chemistry with this girl. Gosh, help me, some, I forgot the name of the actress.
um, from the Notebook, right?
Yes, from the Notebook.
Right.
I'm running around. Rachel something.
I- Rachel.
McAdams.
Or
Yeah,
Risha McAdams.
McAdams.
Yes, Rachel
yes.
McAdams. And you know what was interesting about it is that the voice is actually a mesh of her voice, her actual singing voice, with an actual Eurovision Song Contest winner. The main song is very touching because it's about how she feels about her homeland and the love of the homeland and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed that one. Number 13 was Extraction with Chris Hemsworth,
Okay.
Ah,
which
yes.
actually, yeah,
Pretty solid action film. I'll give it that.
nobody does those kind of black ops kind of action films like the Russo brothers, and this is a Russo brother film as well too, and it's been picked up for part 2, I believe.
Right.
Yeah,
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 that's
and it
surprised.
yeah, it was action from beginning to end. I really, really enjoyed it. It's on Netflix as well too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Number 12 is also another war movie, but this is based on World War II. Remember, I told you I have a thing for World War II movies and
Mm.
documentaries. This one is called Resistance Fighter, but
Okay.
I I think that's just what they call it in America because I think in Polish it's called something else. No, I don't have it here, but it's based on a Polish war hero called. His name was Jan Nowak something. I can't pronounce his last name properly, but I did a review on it. It's on Red Mango Reviews and it's on Dark Alice Reviews if you want to see it. He was known as the courier from Warsaw. So it's basically his journey of trying to get this very important message across to the resistance in Warsaw before the major uprising that took place a few months before the end of World War II. And it was a hero, a World War II hero that is unsung that I haven't even heard of. So it was a fresh story.
Right.
Um, and number 11 for me is also another war hero that was new to me and I learned about. This one as well too is also a Polish movie that's been translated, but is being called in America A Hidden Life. This one is an Austrian farmer named Franz Jägerstatter and his refusal to fight for the Nazis during World War II to swear his allegiance to Hitler. He never raises a gun to fight for the Nazis, for even with fear of his family being, disavowed or threatened and so on.
Mm.
So unfortunately, well, you know how that goes. He was executed because he refused to fight for Hitler. But it's a very long and touching story. So yeah, that's number 11 on my list.
No.
Right, and it's also on Netflix.
Yeah, no, this one is not on Netflix, but I
Oh,
suppose you could find it at any streaming site. But you have to type in A Hidden Life if you want to see it in English form.
okay, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
yeah,
Cool. Great picks.
yeah.
CC, if you don't
Yo.
mind, just running through quickly your 20 to 11 movies that you've seen in 2020.
Right. Movies I have seen in 2020. I'm going to start oldest, coming to most recent, and because the number one spot is my favorite film that came out this year that I did see. But starting oldest to more recent. 20 to 11. Okay. So number 20, Blood on the Moon, directed by Robert Wise. I watched it because Criterion was having had a special collection of like Western noir, like classic Western noir, and it's really good. Like,
Right.
I can't remember I'm blanking on the main actor's name. No, Robert Mitchum. Thank you. Like a really great performance from Robert Mitchum as like kind of a mysterious, wandering gunslinger type, but brilliant performances all around and great writing. It was easily, I think, one of my favorites of that Western noir collection. 19 from 1949, White Heat, starring James Cagney.
Great
Yeah.
film.
Great
Classic.
movie. Yeah.
Hated Ma,
Yeah.
Top of the World. Love that movie.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yep.
because
Yep.
I
Yep.
went because I watched the original Scarface this year and went on an absolute deep dive of like classic gangster movies, and I watched so many, and there's some great ones, but easily one of the best was White Heat, and it makes a great companion piece, in my opinion, to Raoul Walsh's earlier film with Cagney, the Roaring Twenties, which also has Humphrey Bogart. But White Heat, as like just a absolutely shocking, ahead of its time, like very character-driven gangster movie, is impeccable. Talking about ahead of their time, moving into the 50s with 1951's Ace in the Hole, written and directed by Billy Wilder, starring.
I have yet to see that movie. I've heard nothing but praise about it.
This year was when I finally got into Billy Wilder, and I watched a lot. And like Sunset Boulevard is incredible. What was the other? Sunset
Oh
Boulevard?
yeah, love that movie.
Double Indemnity is incredible, but
Love
Ace
it.
in the
Love that
Hole
movie.
Ace in the Hole was a shocking, like, ahead of it, like, as far as, like, ahead of its time on, like, social commentary on, like, media and, like, sensationalist news. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. It's actually one that I ended up on my radar because I think Spike Lee was talking about great Billy Wilder movies and recommended it, and I watched it, and it's, like, absolutely great. Next up, still in the 50s, 1954's Them, directed by Gordon Douglas.
Still on my to watch list. Yes,
That
that's the
movie,
giant ant movie.
yeah. Which, like,
Yeah.
here's the thing. I love me some, like, classic horror, and, like, I have a big soft spot for, like, retro the 1950s, like, atomic age horror. There's, like, not all of it. There's a lot of stuff that has got great concepts and doesn't stick the landing, or, like, big studio money but doesn't have a great concept or great cast. But, like, Them is a compelling enough movie, and it stands the test of time with, like, how well written it is, how scary it is. The effects even hold up, which, I mean, for the most part, which is, like, for the 50s is wild. But it holds up remarkably. The effects hold up for the 50s. The writing holds up, and as a horror film, there are still some legitimately tense and even scary moments in this. Like, I love, like, this is the film that James Cameron basically remade when he made Aliens, and you can see the inspiration, you can see the parts that he lifted pretty much as is because they are so effective in their original context, so that works. From 1960, Sergeant Rutledge, directed by John Ford. I think this is my favorite John Ford movie so far. I'm not the biggest fan
I've heard of it. I need to check that out too.
I'm not the biggest fan of The Searchers, but I love Stagecoach and I love a couple others. But Sergeant Rutledge as, like, a hybrid court drama, Western, a very frank discussion of race and race relations in the 60s that even still holds up. When you have a movie that the central premise is you have a black man on trial for the assault and murder of a white woman, and they're worried that the jury and the people already want his blood before they've even put him on trial, it's aged scarily well. And it's easily my favorite John Ford movie. 1966, Vera Khatilova's Daisies from the Czech New Wave. This is one I watched in grad school, and this is one I was watching for like international cinema. And, like, it's probably one of the most batshit films I have ever seen. Like, it doesn't have a plot in the traditional sense. It has a series of styles as two main characters run wild through Czechoslovakia, just, like, wreaking havoc. And, like, occasionally they'll get bored with the style of the movie and they'll change it, and the movie will take a completely different style. And it has some of the most inventive sequences. There's a food fight sequence towards the end that is one of the most, like, breathtaking, like, spectacles of, like, chaos and destruction I have ever seen. So, like, Daisy's really great. From 1974, the original Taking of the Pelham 123, directed by Joseph Sargent. I watched the original remake. I love the original so much more. It's a tight, well executed, well acted. It's one of the perfect thrillers for me. Like, it's like sets up its premise, moves along, keeps everything going. Anything that's added to the story ups the stakes in some way, doesn't waste time. It's just go, 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 go. And, like, great performances from Walter Matthau and the rest of the cast. It's just brilliant. 1977, William Friedkin's Sorcerer, which is, I think my favorite William Friedkin movie at this point, honestly. Like, I watched it.
Nice.
And I'm still thinking, like, there are still moments I'm still, like, kind of thinking about. I want to watch it again at some point. But, like, just, like, setting up all four of these characters, and then this whole, like setting up all four of these characters, the mission through the jungle, carrying the crates with the nitroglycerin. Like, it's a great exercise in tension. There's some brilliant edits. It's a dark, harsh movie that I love to bits. And I watched more Friedkin stuff since then. Before this, I'd only seen The Exorcist, but since watching this, I've seen other films of his, and I think Sorcerer is still my favorite. 1979, and this number 12, 1970. I think I'm biased towards this one because this was one of my best viewing experiences this year. Probably one of my favorite experiences this year, period. But 1979, Zulu Dawn, directed by Douglas Hickox, which the prequel to his film Zulu, to the film Zulu from the 60s, but I think Zulu Dawn is better. I think it's better in just about every way from Zulu, and the spectacle of it is absolutely breathtaking. And as a war film, it's brilliant. If you don't know your history, the ending is like a genius. It's almost like this genius twist, because we kind of generally we know how these indigenous population versus colonizer stories go, but if you don't know your history and you don't know how this particular one goes, the ending is shocking and provocative, and it is still brilliant, I think. I'm biased because I saw this. I'm looking back at this, I'm so excited. But I saw this in the New Beverly in Los Angeles, actually, on 35 millimeter, in a double feature with The Man Who Would Be King. So, like, that was, of the two films, that was I hadn't seen Zulu Dawn. I had seen The Man Who Would Be King, but I had not seen Zulu Dawn. And getting to see Zulu Dawn like that in that older theater with the great on film was just shocking. Like, I still think, that's another one I still think about, like, oh my God.
Right.
And then number 11, another filmmaker I finally got a chance to deep dive this year, who's I definitely decided one of my favorites, is Brian De Palma. And I finally and my favorite film of his, I think, at this point is Blowout from 1981.
Oh, yeah.
I have that in my collection. It's a great movie.
Fantastic movie, yeah.
So good. So good. What I love about De Palma is that he takes the, like, Hitchcock tricks and formulas, but then does brilliant, better things with them. And, like, Blowout is this perfect Hitchcockian thriller of, like, this person thrown into a situation by being at the wrong place at the wrong time and having to figure it out as they go along. Editing is brilliant. The violence is brilliant. John Lithgow's villain character is chilling. It's absolutely chilling.
Yeah.
And, like, John Travolta, the ending is great, but also haunting. And then
boy.
Absolutely.
Oh, and this is easily John Travolta's best performance, and that's including Pulp Fiction. I will just say it. But yeah, that's my 20 to 11 for 2020 films. Well, films I saw in 2020.
Great picks, man. And now I feel bad that I don't have the Criterion channel. But I'm part. I get a newsletter from them, so I know what they're showing. So at least that's good.
This list was a combination of the things I saw this year was a combination of mooching off a couple people's streaming services, discovering a whole bunch of streaming services that are free with ads, and interlibrary loans from public libraries. Like, I hit all of them hard this year because I'm like, if I'm going to be at home, the two things I'm going to do are watch movies and write. That's the two things I've done this. But yeah.
Nice. So, Tracy, if you don't mind, before we get to your top 10, of course, because we have to hear Summer's 20 to 11, what is your honorable mentions? Quickly.
Yeah, my honorable mentions is mostly television type things, streaming type things, comfort type things. So I have season 1 of Stargirl, which as 50s and kind of cheesy, well, not 50s, but it has that kind of almost cheesy 50s sensibility about it. But I love it.
It's like 80s, but it's also like, like how 80s film kind of pay tribute to the 50s, like a Back to the Future. That's good.
I really liked it, and getting to see the hints of the Justice Society is joy for me. So I was like, yes, bring more of that. Thank you very much. Vampires versus the Bronx. That was fun. It was fun to watch. I came in for the Kid Mero, and I ended up staying for the movie, and I was like, yes, this is nice. This is a cool way to talk about gentrification. The Star Wars Lego special, that one.
Yeah, the holiday special.
Joy.
That was dope. Yeah.
That one was joy. That one was joy for me. I also totally dug Enola Holmes. I know, I feel like there's a story behind the other Holmes sister, but the only Holmes sister that I knew was watching the BBC version,
Oh
season
God.
4. Yeah, so when this came out, I was like, okay, I'll look. But it was a joy. And then, of course, well, again, in terms of comfort, I rewatched the final season of Arrow, season 8,
Ah,
like
yes, yes,
over
yes.
and over and over again. That
Oh,
felt
that
like
much?
home.
Jeez.
No, I did, because here's the thing. It felt like home because each
Mhm.
episode moved for each season. So getting to see him back in Hong Kong, and getting to
Mhm.
see him back on the island, but like dealing with God, the Al Ghul sisters. I can't remember her name right.
Oh,
Natalia. Yeah,
Yeah.
Talia, Talia.
yeah,
Mhm.
Talia.
Talia and Nala. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was joy for me. And then the thing that I truly enjoyed, but I have it here on my honorable mentions, is Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian season 1 and 2. Now that is
Yeah,
the
I have been
documentary.
enjoying season one thus far. I haven't seen the one that came out Christmas for season two. I'll have to
Yeah,
check that
no,
out.
that the only thing that annoyed me about season 2 is that, okay, season 1 was 8 episodes of content, and I was looking out for 8 episodes of content, but it seems like it's just this one 65-minute special that sort of like fades out to different bits talking about the directors and talking about different things like that. So it's not like a whole 8 episode piece like how they did in season 1, but just that whole that whole documentary series on they talked about the volume, which is like their room, sort of like with lighting, and how they manipulated that. And they talk about, okay, do we need green screens when you have that? How does it work? The bringing in of all the different directors, the sensibility there of Dave Filoni, who I'm really glad to get to see Dave doing live action. That for me was just joy. So those there are my honorable mentions, and I'll throw in this one because even though admittedly I have not seen it, I feel I haven't seen it yet because reasons. But I'm still putting it in there because I want to send out like a huge applause to the creators of Magnolia. The idea of Magnolia,
Ah, yes, yes, yes. Shout out to
the
Ansel
local,
Harris. Hmm.
yeah, the local superhero. Like I've been following JD. There's a web comic that goes with it that came out before the actual episodes, and the web comic was actually pretty cool. So I said, okay, I'm going to go and take in the series, take in the first episode of thereabouts, but I haven't as yet because life and reasons and stuff. But I still say huge applause for like a first real live action Trini superhero sensibility kind of something, and I'm like, yes,
Mm.
do more of this, please. That is good. So that's my honorable mentions.
All right, nice, nice, nice. I'm glad that you acknowledge, Magnolia in that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Summer, if you don't mind, you could run through your honorable mentions and your 2211.
Sure thing. My honorable mentions: Superman, Man of Tomorrow, Bad Boys for
Yes, I remember
Life.
you have being a huge fan of that. Sorry.
Yes, I really enjoyed that. The artwork, everything just felt like it was the refresh reboot that we needed for that series
Hmm.
of Bad Boys for Life. The Gentleman, I actually had a lot of fun with that. I'm a Guy Ritchie fan. I know a lot
Me
of
too, and
people.
No, I
I
know.
just
Yeah,
didn't
a
watch
lot
it
of
for
people
some
pick
reason. I
on
don't know
him,
why.
but I don't know. I like his energy.
Hmm.
Uh, Sonic the Hedgehog. It surprisingly
It was good.
was
It was good.
it was fun. It was fun. I went in expecting nothing, and I had a lot of fun. So. You should have left. Thriller starring Kevin Bacon.
Mm.
Again, this was a solid effort in terms of keeping you creeped out from. I would say from the first 10 minutes in, I was on the edge of my seat. So, Bill and Ted Face the Music. This is what Tracy would call comfort food. I had fun with it on that level.
Yes.
I'm not a huge Bill and Ted fan, so I didn't have any high hopes for this. And I just feel like they were trying to give 2020 something, positive, something sweet and easy to digest. And that's what Bill and Ted Face the Music was to me. Unknown Origins. This was a Netflix superhero, Spanish made movie, and guys, you just have to see this. This is a superhero origin story like nothing I've ever seen before.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
there are serial killers. There's a serial killer killing people in the form of what superhero origin stories. So you just have to see that. I'll leave it right there. I don't want to spoil anything. The Whistlers, Keira Knightley, playing a whistleblower based on a true life story. I was really blown away by this one. It's not usually something I would be drawn to, but I thought her performance and just the way this entire thing unfolded
Right, right.
was really well done. Extraction, as action
Mm.
movies go, it was a solid one. As Matthew said, we didn't have a lot this year, and I thought Extraction was a good one. Enola Holmes, definitely enjoyed that one from beginning to end, and Borat. And just in talking about Borat quickly, I have to say Maria Bakalova for a film debut to stand up in something like that and pull it off, not just the comedy but the drama. I thought she
Yeah.
was amazing. So
Yeah, she killed it. I don't know about her being nominated for Academy Award. I don't know, but she was great in the movie. I'll give her that.
yeah.
Yeah.
My 20 to 11, number 20, Love and Monsters. I feel like if
Ah,
this
missed
came
that.
out, yeah, I feel like if this came out in a normal year, this would have done really well. This was very well done. It has that huge blockbuster energy about it, and by the end, I'm hoping for a sequel. So yeah, that was my number 20. My number 19, Birds of Prey.
Right.
Um, I thought, I know it's not perfect, but and it's definitely a Harley Quinn movie and not a Birds of Prey movie, but for the most, I dug it.
Yeah, it's the most cult film feeling. It has the
Yeah,
most cult film feeling of any DCU movie, in my opinion.
and that's
Yeah,
it too.
that's good.
I do respect the fact that DC seems to give their directors a lot more freedom than Marvel does, and good, bad, or indifferent. I mean,
There's a
but
risk.
yeah, there's a risk involved, but sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. Um, Number 18 was Run, starring Sarah Paulson. This movie for me was like, it starts off very Hitchcockian and it ends like Stephen King's Misery, like
Right.
Rob Reiner's Misery, I should say. This, if you guys haven't seen this one, the actress in the film that plays the daughter, the paraplegic daughter, is actually a paraplegic actress in real
Right.
life.
Oh wow.
And
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
and what she has to do, not just dramatically but physically, is amazing in this movie. So it's her film debut and she nails it.
Wow.
And the ending is super messed up. So I'd recommend you check out Run. My number 17, Palm Springs. I had a blast with this one too, guys.
Nice.
I
Mm,
really loved it. Number 16, The Devil All the Time.
mm.
Um, Solid film noir type film. I think overall it works. It does stumble in the middle a bit, but I think the actors, the performances is what really sells this one for me. Not so much the narrative. Number 15, Mulan. I,
Right.
Nice,
I
nice.
yeah. Number 14 was Greenland. This was a very tense film. Watching this, if you haven't seen it, they managed to keep the tension racked up as soon as the first comet hit. So good
Hmm.
on them for this one. Number 13 is not a movie I would have expected to have on a list like this. Happiest Season. This is
Okay.
a yeah, it's a Christmas, it's a sweet romantic rom-com tale told from a different point of view relationship wise. But what I love about it is that they never make the relationship feel like it's supposed to be some type of message. It's supposed to be some type of, preachy type of thing. It's a natural thing because it's just another relationship. So I loved how they treated that. My number 12 was Fat Man. I
Right.
think this is one of the best
Nice.
Christmas movies I've seen in ages. This
Yeah,
is
one of the
just
best anti-Christmas movies ever.
right, and it's right up my anti-Christmas alley. My number
There's a place for
11.
movies like that. I'm sorry. There is.
It really is.
It really is.
Yeah.
My number 11 was The Croods Part 2, also known as The Croods New Age.
I did
Okay.
not see
Well,
this.
how was that?
It was I I loved it, guys. I think The Croods is one of the more underrated animated features out there. I thought part one was fun, and part two definitely stepped up the energy, and the new voice additions, everything. I just had a blast with this. It was what I needed in 2020. So that was my 20 to 11, guys.
All right, nice,
Sweet.
nice, nice. So now we have finally made it to top 10, right?
Woo!
As in individual films that we've seen in this crummy ass here, right?
Right.
So, Ricardo, a way to start first. Take it away. Your top 10, 10 to 1.
Right. So yeah, we're just doing 10 to 1 stream. No 10 thing, right? Okay, cool.
No, no.
Oh,
Straight.
all right. So just forget two honorable mentions for my honorable mention. Shall I mention? I just forget because no remember it's like one last show again. My brain get complete fogged with this nonsense here. Central Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually forgot about that. Yeah.
Right. These great shows. As I said, it's a great mix between Bob's Burgers and Hamilton. Right.
Mhm.
And well, we're gonna get to that. and then Bad Education. Bad
Yes,
Education. I should have
yes.
mentioned. I was like, oh yeah, Bad Education was a thing this year. Should I watch that? Right. So my top 10. Okay. So controversial pick number 10, The Five Bloods.
Mm.
So high. Well,
So low, right?
relatively, but okay,
Right.
okay.
Yeah. So number 10, The Five Bloods. Number 9, Soul. Right?
Ooh.
Like
Great
That's my
I haven't
weekend
seen it
watch.
as yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great
I
film.
have.
It's
Yeah,
gonna be
I
my
have to
weekend
see
So we
Yeah.
that.
all need
Sorry.
to check it out.
Yeah, we really like Soul. I really like Soul. Not top 5 Pixar, but top 10 Pixar, right? Is shockingly emotionally mature. Like seriously, at half of the time you're thinking, yeah, this for children, you ain't sure, right?
Right.
But yeah. Number 8, Enola Holmes. Right? I really like this.
I
Nice.
This the creator of this is she, this is Harry Potter now, right? Troy J.K. Rowling, right? Let's put the fiction caps back.
Wow.
Troy J.K. Rowling, right? Yeah. What's this? Number 8, I just said right. Number 7, Queen's Gambit. Really
I
liked
still
it.
have to see it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. So what it is, it one small thing pulled it down, but that's not really the fault of it. It's more my ridiculous expectation, which is I really wanted this to be a true story. Like I was jumping into it expecting it to be a true story. I like no, it's just a complete fiction. So I was like, oh, it's a book. And I was like, oh, great. So I don't know. That just take away the impact a little bit for me, but yeah, it was still pretty awesome. Right, number 6, Raised by Wolves. I know this is TV, but
No, it's
yeah,
your list is filled.
yeah,
so,
that's a top 10 thing. Yeah, this was excellent. It's just so well made, so well characterized. As I say, it feels like a weird 70s sci-fi, but done with modern technology and
Right.
modern film techniques. And it's just great material around. Everybody is acting good. Mother and father really stole the show. They were two great characters, great actors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Number 5, Mangrove. Did not expect this.
yes, easily the best
My
small axe film. Yeah.
My favorite of the small axe films. Really well done. Just everybody was good in this. The guy who played Darkus Howe, the teacher I play Alatia Jones, pretty awesome. And then I now remember who played, who the actor Frank Critchlow was in. Remember Mummy 2, the pilot guy?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yes,
Yep.
that's true. Right. Wow.
My brain was like rocking to like, where is man from, Judd? Where is man from? And it's like, yep, he from that. Awesome. Number 4, The Last Dance. Absolutely love this documentary.
Yes, great docuseries.
Yeah.
Great.
Two people that it related to, and it's a big emotional thing too, because I have one person I'm a big fan of online. Don't necessarily agree with him politically, but he was a big fan of this show. A guy called Michael Brooks. He's like a great, really funny YouTuber, left-wing YouTube type, and he died this year, unfortunately. And then the death of Kobe Bryant, and so it was just a mix of really sad emotions involving that. And then this amazing documentary involving, the 90s. Michael Jordan, probably, my life not going to get any better than this. And it harkened back to that, effectively. Like, after the 90s, that is like, it's all dogwill from here. Like, we had 9/11 and that was it, right? I mean, seriously. Trash. The Last Dance was amazing. Truly fantastic documentary. It just, everything was so good. You really understand why Michael Jordan is a great basketballer. Arguably the best, if not one of the best. I have no problem calling him the GOAT, even though I'm not personally my GOAT basketball player. But we'll get into that debate over Arongs Bears when all of this bullshit clear up. So anyway, that's that. Right. So number what? 3?
I think
Yeah,
three.
3. Yeah.
Number 3. Oh boy. Hamilton. Yeah. This was truly fantastic for me. Going into it, I did not know. Like, look, they said I never got a chance to see the play in live. That would the probability of that happening is unlikely. So Disney, the good people at Disney, decided to put it on for us. And boy, this was truly amazing. Right? So just banger after banger after banger after banger. I remember when this dude blew up under the Obama administration. I was like, all right, well, he doing this play. You keep hearing about it.
Yeah.
And then you really see it, and it's like, wow, this thing blew me away. Number 2, not too controversial with given who you're talking to here, but this shit just pushed all my buttons in terms of science fiction, action movie making, and yeah, we just the man just give me a black button for the first time. Christopher Nolan's Tenet.
All right,
I
so high,
really
so
like.
clear.
Yeah, I really like Tenet. Tenet is one of those movies. Tenet is one of those movies that gets better the more and more I think about it because of the sci-fi premise, right? It's very, very convoluted and insane. But when I keep thinking about, hey, if this is this, then that is that. If this is this, then yeah, then you carry the conclusion. Then you find out who doing what and why. It works for me. I'll admit, you need to be this big. You have to constantly be thinking about time travel bullshit pretty much for the better part of 20 years, like me. Right? First time I see any time travel movie, anytime I see anything in Star Trek or some kind of bullshit, I was thinking about that nonsense. And Tenet, how to put it like this: what Mass Effect is to the space opera, Tenet is to the time travel movie.
Okay.
All right.
Right.
All right.
You see how
Well,
Mass Effect.
Interesting.
That's how I was thinking about it because how Mass Effect just do this kind of callaloo of space opera. It have all of these ideas in it. It's Star Trek here and Battlestar Galactica and Babylon 5 and all of that stuff. But it gel it together in a great science fiction space opera premise. Tenet does that for time travel. Tenet basically does all the time travel movies all at once. When you think about it, how this play out. Yeah, it's a little expository. It have its problems. It's not perfect. It have a lot of expository problems. Sorry? Yeah, go ahead. I didn't hear you, Cece.
Yeah, I thought there was that one screen cap going around where it's like, was it like the main character something which is like his name is protagonist or something? I need to see it.
That is relevant to the story. That is relevant to the world building. Yes, I know it has some funny bullshit in it, but it works. It is relevant to the narrative and the story, given the world building now. And yeah, Tenet just push all my buttons. I go and defend the movie. So Tenet going to be the hill I go and die on. Even though Christopher Nolan wasn't completely the wrong for putting it out the way he did and doing that bullshit. You do some bullshit there, but film's still awesome. And I do agree with him on the whole issue with Warner Brothers, by the way, on that. But when it comes to actually putting out the film in the pandemic, yeah, he do shit there. Not defended him on that point. The movie's still awesome. Love Tenet this year. Great. And my number 1 for the year, again, this is not a surprise. It is a movie I was waiting on for a long goddamn time. I'm a huge fan of the franchise. Absolutely love the material, the source material for what it was, and they just made an absolutely brilliant product, similar to what Steven Spielberg did with Tintin. We just got this amazing animated movie of an old comic franchise, Lilford the 31st. Absolutely love it. This thing just work on every level. The script was great, animation was great, voice acting funny and clever. Everything was just working at this. It just push all the right buttons, music, everything. Just again, how to just take the needles and just stick it in my prefrontal cortex and like this. Do you like that? That's basically what this was. Absolutely loved it. Yeah. So yeah, my number 1 for the year, Lilford the 31st. Truly a fantastic film for me.
All right. Well, what I would say quickly about Tenet, this is coming from my second viewing of it. What I love about the character being called protagonist, not to spoil it, CC, is that to me, I feel like Tenet as a whole, it's like I look at it in terms, like, Ricardo, you look at it in terms of time travel. I look at it in terms of, like, screenwriting, and, like, almost like this is a character who is made aware throughout the course of the story that he is part of this bigger thing. So in other words, he realized that he is part of a story that's already being written, i.e. by Christopher Nolan, and he comes to terms with that at the very end. So to me, I
No,
kind of
no,
see Tenet as a screenwriter's kind of script.
no,
Like
no,
if you were to
Nolan,
study for
Nolan,
like,
yeah,
oh, it's
yeah, no,
kind of
Nolan,
breaking
yeah,
apart the basics of
right.
script, writing scripts now, you
No,
know.
but all Nolan's films does that metatextual stuff. Every
Yeah,
one of
like what?
you know
Yeah, I
that.
remember
Every
Inception really be really.
Inception, right?
Yeah.
Even
The
back to
Prestige.
yeah, even back to the early stuff, right? It's all of his movies do that. The Prestige is right. The Prestige was about magic and the history of magic and film. That connection and learning how to distract you. Yeah, that is what it is. As I say, Tenet will be the hill I'll die on because it's one of those movies you have to keep. And I hate when I tell people, oh, you have to keep watching it over and over to get better. But when I watch it over, little small little edits and cuts in the film, it's like, oh shit, that's like real important if you understand what's going on here. Little small things actually really adds up going forward, right? And it I think one of the big things I appreciated about it, and again I go shut up because everybody had to finish and get out of here. It's one of those things that it fixed the problem I had with Interstellar, right? Interstellar did a thing, and that thing ruined Interstellar. Not ruin it completely, but just undermine the film subtly, and that fixed the problem completely in this one. That's why I really like this so much. Like, yeah, you kind of apologize for Interstellar here. Well done. Like, I really like that.
Right,
So
right.
that's how I feel about it. But yeah, so
Okay,
that's
yeah,
so
but
yeah.
some
I'll let
solid
you-
picks there, man. I won't lie, I won't lie. CC. I have pretty much been enjoying your run through of classic films. But I'm really curious to hear what your number one is of the year. So, quickly, just take it away. 10-1. What's your
And
picks?
10-1. All right. Starting with another one from 1981. George, a real deep cut, a gem I discovered, but George A. Romero's Night Riders, which is a cult
I need to see
classic.
that.
Cult classic. It's
Ooh.
not horror. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
action. It's a brilliant, very character-driven, kind of like 70s retelling, like a contemporary, as in the 70s retelling of like King Arthur and the Arthurian lore,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
set with a troupe of traveling medieval reenactors who their big gimmick is they ride around on motorcycles. It's one of those things that you see the premise and you're like, oh, this is going to go one way, but then you watch it and it's aggressively like heartfelt and personal and really, really well done, and also like just a really smart retelling of the Arthurian lore. It's one of my
Right.
favorite, up there with Excalibur, for one of my favorite reworkings of Arthurian lore. So
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
number 9 from 1989, Jim Jarmusch's Mystery Train.
Awesome.
Also,
I,
am I to watch this?
Big pick
I-
here, boy. That is a pick.
this year I have come to learn that I just kind of love Jim Jarmusch. I discovered
Thank you.
I discovered that the college I got into for grad school has a feature where once you're enrolled, they automatically enroll you in this one streaming service called Canopy that has a lot
Right.
of class,
Right.
also a lot of artsy films. So
Okay.
they had a bunch of Jim Jarmusch, and I just like watched Mystery Train, Night on Earth, and like a bunch of others, and I am in love with this man. Mystery Train is this brilliant exercise in like interwoven storytelling, kind of looking at the American mythology around this one place and this one person, in this case Elvis, and like
You're right.
Nashville, and it's just, and it's also so funny. It's just
Yeah.
it's just I laughed my ass off every time I watch a Jarmusch movie, but Mystery Train I laughed the hardest. Number 8 from 1990 is probably, it's my favorite of this particular genre, but also my favorite of these particular writer-directors. This is the Coen brothers' Miller's Crossing.
Yo.
Yes.
Nice
It-
Great
one.
film,
Yeah.
great film.
Big
Approved.
picks here, boy. Like for me, and again for me, first Jarmusch movie was Ghost Dog, and then you pick
Yes,
this now,
Ghost
like
Dog is a
good.
true film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, but like Miller's Crossing, I
Yeah.
got into that when
Fantastic movie.
I was in the middle of my going through like gangster films, and I was watching like the classics and then Road to Perdition, all the other things. And in the middle of that, I picked up a copy. I borrowed a copy of Miller's Crossing, and I can't. I don't even know how to explain just how perfect it is. I don't know whether it's like the fact it's a subtle remake of Yojimbo, but like with
Right.
like like a gangster movie. The fact the seamless incorporation of period slang into dialogue that actually makes sense. The performances, all the twists and turns, the Coen brothers' signature dry humor. No, it's phenomenal. One of my favorites that I discovered this year. I'm so happy. I feel like everything up is like all like I feel like we crossed into these are all 10 out of 10s obviously, but like good lord, Miller's Crossing is so damn good.
Because when Hudsucker Proxy came out,
94.
Right.
94. Okay, right. I keep thinking this was closer to that. What? Okay, let me do some digging. Go ahead.
This is the one they wrote this is the one they were writing, got stuck, took a break, and wrote Barton Fink, and then resumed writing.
Right. That was, okay, right. So, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Number 7, 1991. A surprising movie from this director, and I'll explain why. But Terry Gilliam's The Fisher King.
Yeah.
Great film as well.
That one got me straight in the feels. Like, because Gilliam is really a very cynical filmmaker. Like, Terry Gilliam...
Brazil, anyone?
This is the man who said that Schindler's List is too happy. He literally went on Schindler's List is too happy. So I was surprised that a movie that's also, again, a slight reworking of, like, Arthurian lore, but then also this really powerful redemption story, a story of trauma, a story of, like, of someone hitting rock bottom and then kind of finding a way forward to, like, recover what was lost, kind of.
And Robert Williams, right? I mean, holy shit, right?
He's
great performance from him.
Probably my favorite performance of his. Like it's brutal. Like, it's funny, but it's also visceral. Like, the whole sequence when he's having the nightmare about the Red Knight is haunting. Like, you're sitting there watching it and you're like, it's disturbing, it's unsettling, it's so intense. I absolutely I was floored by that one. That was one I watched this year, and then the minute the Criterion Flash sale came on, I had to get a copy. It was like
well done. I've been meaning to get it for myself as well.
I needed it. Number 6, and this one's is particularly special. Because I didn't just watch the movie, I read the book, but 1992's Malcolm X.
Right. Nice one.
Lee.
Yes.
Here for that.
This is probably, I mean, after we talked about, around the time we were talking about Do the Right Thing, I definitely decided I needed to go on like for those of you following
Spike Lee binge.
For those of you following at home, I've been on an arc with Spike Lee. So when we talked about Do the Right Thing, I was beginning to go on a deep dive. When we talked about The Five Bloods, I had been getting more into his stuff. But then now here, concluding the arc, I have seen a crap ton, and I think my favorite is Malcolm X. It's one of the most personal, but the scale of it and the size of it, and just still, even now in 2020, like all these years later, this is a brilliant example of like how to do a biopic. Like, honestly, like first of all, first of all, the life story is interesting enough that you're engrossed the entire time. Yeah. But even then, the way it's written and the way where it keeps to the book and where it arranges the events of the book. The book's also Autobiography of Malcolm X. For those of you who have not read it at home, oh my god, yes, it's amazing how many of Malcolm X's observations about race and racism in the United States, and even just in general, like especially later in his life after he had gone on his pilgrimage, are still razor sharp and on point. And Spike Lee was the perfect filmmaker to bring it to life. Another one from one of my favorite filmmakers, and I think, this one got me very personally, but 1993's Matinee, written and directed by Joe Dante.
Okay. Wow.
Joe Dante, okay.
It actually felt like the perfect movie for 2020 because it's about these two kids who are both big monster movie fans who, over this one weekend, like one of their favorite filmmakers is bringing his latest like kind of B monster movie, and it's very much like a big send-off to like William Castle, to their small town in Miami. But then the Cuban Missile Crisis happens, and there's this air of tension, and there's this big air of like uncertainty, and the kids are all at school talking about, is there even going to be school on Monday? Like, are we all going and there's this very, like, Joe Dante, and I watched a couple special features because this movie got me personally, but Joe Dante talked about how his journey into getting into film was through B movies and monster movies, and he had, like, there's this great monologue where the filmmaker played by John Goodman has this whole monologue talking about why we make horror movies, which a lot of it fits into like why you make movies at all, and it's a very personal movie for Dante. It feels like the perfect because again, the Cuban Missile Crisis is happening, and people are like, why are we interested in this like weird little monster movie when we don't know if we're gonna live this weekend? And it feels so timely to watch in 2020, where especially if you are a film person or any other kind of artist, where you're like, we got all this art and things, and like we're trying to like take it in and just enjoy good art, but we don't know whether like life as we know it is going to continue, and it probably won't. And there's all these complicated elements to it. It's one of Dante's most personal. It's one of his. It's very different from most of his filmography, but I love the man so much. Another international film from 2006, an Iranian film, Jafar Panahi's The Offside.
Oh my gosh, boy. I'm so glad that you have a Jafar Panahi in here. Well done.
Oh, yeah, no, I was...
Lovely.
I feel so left out here.
No,
Same.
like...
I've been taking notes.
Yeah.
Well, I might probably transcribe this. So.
I will, like, The Offside is... Like,
Yes,
The Offside is one of the best, like, social commentary movies I have seen in a long, long ass time. But it's also one of the most simple. Like, the premise is like, I mean, for those of you who don't know, like, the premise is like, you have several young women who are taken by security when they're trying to sneak into an important football game that's a decider of getting Iran into the World Cup, because at the time there's all these laws preventing women from being like a man's space, quote unquote, which in this case football stadium. So what ends up happening is you have a group of women who are all like arrested trying to sneak into this game dressed as men, and they're all kind of penned together, and they form this bond. Like, it's one of the things that feels kind of like a stage play almost. Like, you could really do this as a stage play. Because you have these 6 women, they've all got different stories, they've all got different lives, and they're all and the paradox of they're trying to sneak into this game because they love their country enough that they want to see it get into the World Cup, but it's the same country that won't even let them watch this game. And that dramatic tension is so on point and so wonderful and so well executed, and the writing is smart. Even though it's a very serious movie, it doesn't hesitate to be funny, but also really poignant. It just succeeds across the board. I absolutely loved it, and I was so happy. It's
not. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's one I was so happy. It was one of the last ones I watched. It was one that wasn't on my radar, but it was part of an international cinema class. It was the last film we watched, and I was like, this is a brilliant high note to go out on. Oh, so good.
It's not my favorite Panahi. That goes to The Mirror, but it's still brilliant. It's like, this was still pretty good. But I'm so glad that you have a Jafar Panahi in here, man. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Number 3 from 2009. I don't know how to preface this one, but Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans.
Okay, wood.
Directed by Werner Herzog. I was on a Nicolas Cage binge at one point in quarantine. That was a weird time. Mandy, Colorado Space, Vampire's Kiss, like it's just going. But the one that was my favorite was Port of Call, New Orleans, because it's such a brilliant little, like, not quite Uncut Gems type story, but like it has a similar vein of you're just watching the life of this one fuck up, basically. This one, like, you're watching this one character trying to like navigate all of the crap that they're in the middle of, but then also on so many drugs so much of the time. And like Nicolas Cage and Werner Herzog make such sweet music together. Like, he's a strange director, he's a strange actor. They work off each other so well. I have the sequence where I have the one sequence with the shootout where like the one soul is where the guy's like his soul is still dancing like that. I have that permanently in my brain. Like I can't even it just lives in my brain rent free at this point. Like, oh my god, it's one of the strangest films I saw this year, and I am in love. Number 2, almost there. Number 2 is from 2014. And it's the only documentary on this list, but my favorite documentary I saw. This is Lost Soul: The Doomed Journey of Richard Stanley's The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Right.
Oh,
From Dave
Ah.
Gregory.
Intrigued?
It's one of those cases where like documentaries are very hit or miss for me. Like there's like I'm not a huge fan of the format, but there are some documentaries where like the Lost Soul has the advantage that it's both a really fascinating story, like especially like since Severin Films, the studio that made it, and Richard Stanley are on such good terms, and like the filmmakers got to interview Stanley, and Stanley got to talk about how he was the one who came up with this film and all of his ideas for it, and I mean, and I also love The Island of Dr. Moreau, not the film, but the original H.G. Wells story, is actually one of my favorite underrated pieces of horror. And I think it's one of those films that hasn't really been done justice yet. We haven't seen the definitive Island of Dr. Moreau movie. And Richard Stanley, who also loves the book, got pretty close with his original vision for the movie. But what's fascinating about Lost Soul is it kind of joins the ranks of things like Hearts of Darkness as a documentary about a film production gone disastrously wrong.
Right.
Where like everything that can go wrong does go wrong. Whether producers, a director gets kicked off and replaced with a new asshole director, like everything.
Wow.
It's a brilliant, weird story of a doomed movie, and like all of the little, like, you do follow along, you get invested in Stanley's vision, and so you're heartbroken along with Stanley himself and the cast when he gets fired and replaced with this new director, and of course that's all before Marlon Brando shows up, and the movie and the story just gets stranger from there. Like everything about this is one of the strangest film production stories you will ever hear, and the documentary does such a great job of taking all the craziness and doing it as like one like simple narrative that you can follow, and it's a very I feel like even non-film people will be very entertained by this one. And then now the final moment, my favorite movie that I saw in 2020 that came out in 2020 is Kathy Ewan's film Birds of Prey.
Nice. I'll give her all those.
I how do I put this? It's fascinating to me because I am one of those, as a critic and as a writer, I am one of those people who will critique the like pseudo Tarantino style. And there are so many, especially since for the past few years, I have been among film undergraduates and I've been at film festivals and I've seen so many bad Tarantino knockoffs, and I've seen so many that managed to get released by big studios. But what I love about Birds of Prey is that it takes the wisecracking, out of order, like witty kind of like Tarantino, Guy Ritchie type crime film, but then it places it with kind of this gleeful irreverence in the world of Gotham City and comic books without Batman, which is always a plus for me. But like, and just has so much fun. Like of all the movies I saw this year, this is the one that was easily one of the most, of all the films I saw this year that came out this year, there's a kind of gleeful irreverence the entire time. And I love, and like for a movie told out of order, it makes sense because it's being told by an unreliable narrator who's like constantly getting her facts muddled and is forgetting to mention certain things. Like, oh shit, I forgot to mention that. Hang on, let me backtrack and explain. The action is a wonderful combination of like viscerally painful, but then also like brilliantly well executed and fun. The performances are all great. I love Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Huntress because the whole movie, not to spoil it, but the whole movie builds her up as this absolute badass. And then when she finally shows up, she's so awkward and shy in the funniest way. Like I have watched the movie at this point. Like, I mean, I got it on DVD the minute it was available, but like I have laughed every time I watch this movie. I laugh myself silly. It's it's a brilliant use of the formula. It's a great use of it's a great and I love stacking genres on top of each other until you get like something new and exciting, and like combining the like witty crime film for like structure with the superhero structure, and focusing on a character like Harley Quinn that's such a delight to watch, especially since like everyone involved in this cast is having a blast. It was, and like, I mean, you mentioned it's a cult, it's like the big cult film of the year. Well, yeah, it is. I love cult films. Most of my like hence like this like 20 like this top 20 in fact, but like a mix of classic but also complete cult. And this is definitely the cult classic of the year, and I know it's going to go on to be like beloved and have like the followings and have people that like meet up to watch it and like dress up as the characters and all that kind of thing. So yeah, my favorite 2020 film is Birds of Prey. Period.
Right, nice.
I have both the
I should have seen
soundtracks
it
for
coming
that.
though. I should have seen that coming. All right, so Alice, take it away. What are your top 10 movies that you saw for 2020?
Okay. Number 10 was a thriller called The Devil to Pay. Um, it's such a brilliant independent film. It really surprised the heck out of me. And the thing about it, what really made this movie stick with me, is actually when I posted my review on it, I got a shout out from the actual directors of the movie, Lucas, Lynn and Ruckus Sky.
Dang.
Wood,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, they actually gave me a shout out thanking me for my review and stuff. So this movie was like, I was screaming like a fangirl last summer. I went like ballistic. So, so it's not my favorite movie of the year, but it's definitely one that is gonna stay etched in my memory because of that. But you guys should check it out. It really, really is a well done movie, and the actress is superb, very strong. Um, Number 9 is Lost Girls and Love Hotels. It's a bit of an erotic thriller. Um, the actress Alexandra Daddario, basically she is an English teacher for a Japanese flight attendant school, right? And she basically drinks heavily during the night at these Japanese dive bars, and she kind of like she's trying to like lose herself, and she's like sleeping with these strange men until she meets this very handsome, it's like the most handsome Japanese guy I've ever seen in my entire life, who is actually a yakuza, and he falls
Nice.
in love with her and basically encourages her to do better with herself, to stop the destructive path that she's on. And in the meantime, there's also a serial killer that's killing young women as well too, when he lures them to the hotels and stuff. But it's very intriguing, and I would say it's one of her strongest roles to date. The actress, that is. Number 8, the horror movie called His House. That's on Netflix.
Yep.
Best horror movie of 2020, in my opinion. No offense, Summer.
And your yeah. Good. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
That
But
movie,
go on, yeah, Alice.
that movie creeped me out so much because it starts off one way and then it delves deep into the African folklore, and it was just amazing. It even dealt with the social situation with the refugees and so on. It was just brilliant. It was just a brilliant movie. So I couldn't go on with this list and not mention that movie. Um, Number 7, the one and only Ivan. Um, I watched it by myself and I cried, and then I liked it so much. I watched it a second time with my husband and I cried again, because it's based on a real silverback gorilla named Ivan, who he could actually like paint abstract drawings, of course, but it was used to for the cause of freeing him from captivity, because he used to be part of a circus, and they wanted to free him into one of those wildlife reserves now, where they have like they mimic the natural habitat of the animals and so on. And it was about his relationship with his owner, who raised him from a baby, but it was just time for him to move on because of course the animals are talking in this, But it is very sad to know that some of the animals didn't even know what grass was like or what this was like. It is very heartbreaking. So it also
Right.
opens up our mind to animal conservation and those kind of things. So I loved it. Number six, the biopic movie, Radioactive, based on the life and work of Madame Curie.
Oh,
Mhm.
that's with oh gosh, what's her name?
Um,
Yeah.
Rosa, no.
Rosamund Pike.
Yeah,
Rosamund
Rosamund
Pike.
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 Rosamund Pike. Yeah.
Yes, Rosamund Pike. Um, Very well done movie. Um, my fifth movie is the black comedy called Judy and Punch.
Yeah, that was good.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I need to check that out.
I
yeah,
didn't see.
yeah. It's very enjoyable. There are a few shocking, very very shocking scenes in it. I don't want to spoil it for you, but I find it was really really well done. How they mix the darkness with the comical nature of it, like a real Judy and Punch show, because
Yeah,
literally a Judy and Punch show is
yeah. A
does
bunch of Judy
incorporate
shows.
violence. Yeah,
Yeah,
it incorporates a lot of violence, like slapstick kind of humor kind of thing. It was just brought with real actors, not puppets. Number four on my list is another World War II biographical drama called Resistance, which surprised me because the actor was Jesse Eisenberg, who is not
right.
one of my favorite actors, but he really shines in this one because he plays the Marcel Marceau, who was actually
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
that.
first mine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
right. And I didn't know that he's actually a war hero, and this
yeah,
basically is his story and
Hmm.
the good things that he was able to do to aid with the French resistance during World War II, and the number of times that he risked his life to help get kids across the border into Switzerland to safety and so on. Really, really enjoyable film, very high
yeah,
up
yeah.
there.
Yeah, this is the past
Uh,
movie.
yeah, I know it's really good. You should check it out. Number three is the Polish thriller called The Hater, which is on Netflix.
All right.
Yeah, this one is basically the lead is so not likable at all, right? They make him literally somebody that you would love to hate in a kind of a way. He's expelled from law school in Warsaw for cheating on his project, right? He how you say, he copied something from somebody, and of course university threw him out. And he has great skills in using social media to manipulate the outcomes in his favor. So he's actually like a professional troller, for want of a better word. And the whole thing is the development of him actually being hired to troll this political candidate and so on. And it's very extremely intriguing to see how this guy used social media, pictures, everything to manipulate and incite actually a terrorist attack as well too. And that one, he was, it really shocked him what he was able to do, but he couldn't do it. He couldn't, how you say, he didn't want to turn himself in and say, oh yeah, I was responsible for inciting this guy to come here and shoot up the place, whatever. He he just went with it, and then ended up very very close to the political family, and in the end he got what he wanted, which was kind of the part I didn't like in the movie. He didn't get his just desserts, but to see the way that his mind worked with the manipulation was what I enjoyed about the movie. Not the fact that he was successful in the end and so on. Um, Number two, Enter the Fat Dragon with Donnie Yen.
Okay.
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 Yeah,
I saw it pop up. I was like,
yeah. I didn't see that.
Daniendo, like a loving Ip Man, but what's this? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I know it's a comedy, a parody, but
Yeah, it's actually a remake of one of Sammo Hung's films from 1978.
right.
yes, yes,
Oh.
I know.
Yeah. So Donnie Yen, I have not seen him in such a comical role ever, and seen him like that and donning the fat suit and still moving and jumping and rolling all over the place. It was just funny. The whole plot was just funny, and I don't know. I just really really like that movie. And my number one movie is 1917.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes, yes.
yeah, yeah,
Well, I mean, it did come out theatrically
yeah. This
in
year, yeah,
In
Trinidad.
Jan
yeah,
yeah, January,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
in
great,
January.
great pick, man. Yeah.
Yeah, 1917, because you don't see many movies being based on World War One. But the fact of the matter is, World War One actually changed the face of Europe as it is today. And what I really enjoyed about this movie is that you could see that it was a passion project for the director, Sam Mendes,
Yes,
whose great grandfather is actually from Trinidad, by the way. Shout out
yes,
to Trinidad. And he actually dedicates the movie to his great grandfather and his grandfather and all the war heroes and so on. It's also an unsung hero of World War One and his journey to try and get a certain message across at a particular time. A really, really good film and very motivational as well too. So yeah, that's those are my picks for 2020.
All right, great picks. All right, Summer, 10-1.
10-1.
Hmm?
Okay, so my number 10 was a film called Let Him Go, starring Kevin Costner, Diane Lane, and Leslie Manville.
Oh, was
And
that
Ooh.
good?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
it
yeah. I
good?
didn't see this. I
yeah,
didn't see this, but yeah, I was supposed to see
Martha
this.
and
Yeah, it was
Jonathan.
yeah,
Martha
Man
and
Parkin
Jonathan. Yeah,
without Superman.
Never
Yeah,
forget.
it it it's
if
one of
Superman
those
never show up.
films where it's one of those films that it really doesn't really hit that noir thriller type thing until maybe the middle of it. But when it hits it with the introduction of Leslie Manville as the matriarch of this family called the Wee Boys, it hits hard because Lena and Costner, they play this old married couple, and their son, their only son, dies in a horse riding accident, and then his wife and their only grandchild, she remarries, and she remarries into this family that turns out to be a bunch of, let's just say, you have those backwoods families that they run whatever small town they live in, and that's the Wee Boys. So you really get to see where what I love about it is that the performances by Lane Costner and Manville really
Right.
sell what you're experiencing in this film, and the way that Costner, again, I've never really been a fan of Kevin Costner. I've always thought he was
Right.
overrated, but I find that the older he's gotten, I don't know, his acting has definitely grown in his old age. It's much to me, it's much more grounded, much more believable, much more impactful now than it was back then. And everything down to the ending, everything erupts, of course, in this very violent way in the ending, but it all works.
Yeah.
My number nine was 1917. And
Nice.
for me, this film, I'm not a huge war film buff, but what I loved about this film was the visual aesthetics, the way we follow this one soldier. And I mean, yeah, it's done like it's one a continuous shot, which I am sure it's not. But with the exception of maybe one part of it, the energy never fluctuates in this movie. I really feel like you can't take your eyes off the screen while you're watching this film because you feel like if you look away, you're gonna miss something important. So it never lets up, and I love when a movie does that. I love when I can't see myself being on my phone while I'm watching a film, where it really draws you in like that. So I think Sam Mendes did a wonderful job visually, and yeah, the story is much more one soldier's story than, you get to see the overall thing. But I just enjoyed that aspect of it a lot. It kind of reminded me of Nolan's take on that war film he did recently.
Right. Right.
Um,
Oh, Dunkirk.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, where you
Yeah.
got kind of one-on-one with each soldier in each person's perspective. So I dug that a lot. My number 8 was a sci-fi movie called The Vast of Night. I don't know if any of you guys saw it.
I
This
saw it. It didn't click with me, unfortunately, but I have a feeling if I
right,
watch it again, I will enjoy it. I think maybe because I was expecting more out of it, but I didn't expect like, oh, it's the threat that's coming. You know what I mean? That's
right.
the issue
Right.
I
So
don't.
yeah, it's definitely. It does feel like for me, like this movie, it's one of those sends up to classic sci-fi movies, and especially the radio shows like what Orson Welles' War of the Worlds.
Hmm.
Where you're following these people who they think they hear something, a signal or something like that, and it's just these two kids, and it's not an action-driven movie in any way, shape, or form, but it's like us watching these events unfold before the actual event happens, because you never actually see what happens. And that sense of mystery is what kept me rooted. It's very dialogue heavy, but it felt like an old classic Twilight Zone episode, and I really appreciated that. My number 7 was Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh wow.
And I
Nice.
I know, I know, I know. Here's the thing for me with this movie. Now, when I first saw it, I did drop that. I gave it a high score, and then when I thought about it, my score went down to 7.5 out of 10. That's where I settled on this, because when I break a film like this down, for me, the acting is not the problem. I thought the acting was A plus. I thought what Pedro Pascal did with that character, I mean, it could have so easily been Gene Hackman, Lex Luthor, and it didn't go there, And there wasn't a lot to work with. What Kristen Wiig did with Barbara Minerva, again, she didn't have that much to work with, and the visuals, the score, um, all of that stuff worked for me. It's this story that fell apart for me. It's this
Right.
story that failed me. So I don't look at this film as a complete failure, because I felt like the everybody else delivered, but the screenplay itself was just so wonky. I felt like there was too much drama and not enough superhero focused stuff. There were way too many conversations, and I'm waiting on those big action opera
Right.
scenes, and I didn't get them. So I don't think this is like the worst movie for the year. I really don't. But I do think it's nowhere near as good as the first film was. The first film for me, the only
Yeah.
real problem there was the villains. The story itself is perfect. Whereas the second film, the story didn't seem to know what it wanted to be. Whether it wanted to be a love story, a story of like friendship gone wrong. I don't know what they
Right.
were trying to do. So unfortunately, this one only got a 7 out of 10, but it still makes my top 10.
Right.
My number 6 was Ben Affleck's In the Way Back. I thought that what he did here
Missed
was
that
like,
too.
I thought this was the best of Ben
Hmm.
Affleck. Like, it's such an intimate look into that struggle with addiction and trying to find your way back from that. I just felt like everything we were seeing, it kind of reminded me of John Favreau's Chef, if you guys have seen that, where
Yeah,
he
yeah.
has a food truck. And that
Yeah.
whole thing being like almost like an allegory for what critics put people through. You put your
Yeah.
best work forward only to have a critic rip it apart. Here, I felt like we were seeing Ben Affleck trying to show where he himself is trying to work past his demons. We have this basketball coach who's lost everything and is basically giving up on life, only to have a second chance with this young group that needs coaching. So it's kind of like Hoosiers in that way, but I thought it was a really wonderful singular story, and it fit well in 2020. My number 5 was The Invisible Man. I
Right.
Woo!
love this movie.
Nice, nice, nice.
So good.
It's just what Lee Wanell did with this story. I mean, first of all, the modernizing it. I love that there was science behind his invisibility and not some weird
Yeah.
magic
I like that.
potion. I loved
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
use, the
It was.
way yes, his cinematography, the camera work. I mean, the level of paranoia that movie, that's the state of paranoia that movie puts you in, because of
Yeah.
the way he would angle the camera and make you feel like you're seeing parts of the room that, okay, why is there so much empty space on the top
Right.
of the screen or the right of the screen? And then Moss, nobody does vulnerability and strength like Elizabeth Moss. She just
Agreed,
took
agreed.
Agreed.
she took what could easily have been in the hands of a weaker actress. I think this could have felt very average, and she just elevated everything, every scene, every part of it. So yeah, The Invisible Man was a win for me.
Absolutely.
Uh, my number 4 was Uncle Frank, starring Paul Bettany. And
Oh yeah, I
I
remember
did.
you
I
said
didn't
you
see
loved
this,
that
but I
one.
should have seen it.
yeah,
I didn't see
Yeah.
this
this, but I
one,
should have seen it. Yeah.
here's
I
the
heard this was
thing.
pretty good. Yeah.
This movie, I mean, on one hand, it's the derivative of every road movie you've seen, where a family gets on
Right.
the road and they gotta go on a journey and they grow on that journey. But Bethany's performance here, I mean, I haven't been rocked emotionally by anything this year, like I did, at least on screen, like I did with his performance here. And I think the two leads, Sophie Lillis and Peter McDishi, I think is the pronunciation for his name. Everybody, those three main leads, they really sell you. But Paul Bettany took what could have uh, just been another generic type of, okay, he's gay and his family doesn't know about it type of thing. And he just, you want everything for him to work out, and you tend to leave your cynicism at the door the longer the film goes by, because I'm there and I'm like, there's no way this would end the way it does. And yet I'm just hopeful for it. And I believe in the happy endings, that they're trying to sell me. So I just loved everything about this film.
Right.
And my number three was another Elizabeth Moss showing this year called Shirley. And
Okay,
this
okay. I mean,
Yeah, I heard
it's
about
been showing up on some best stuff lists for sure. I know.
it.
this movie, I mean, I like I said, Moss does vulnerable and strong really well, but I've never seen her play somebody this psychotic and maniacal and devious, and she's just gleeful with the role. And the equal to that is Odessa Young as a character Rose, because what it is this young couple that comes to live with these very famous author, and played
Yeah.
by Elizabeth Moss and her husband, and they're pulled into that world of artistic types who themselves can be
Right.
very manipulative, and we see that manipulation and what they do to this couple for the sake of their own art and their own
Yeah. Yeah.
success. So it's
Right.
just
Right.
it's just amazing to watch these people and just how unapologetic they are in the things they were doing. So if you guys haven't seen Shirley, I definitely recommend you check it
Yeah,
out.
it is on my to watch list. I didn't get around to it.
Mm.
And my number two was Wolf Walkers.
Yeah.
Um,
What?
Nice,
So
nice, nice,
high,
nice, nice,
I
nice.
nice.
I really adored this
Yeah,
movie. I mean,
nice. Yeah.
the thing about it is, other than the Koba and the two strings,
Right.
most animated films, they have a very by the numbers feel about them while you're watching them. One of the things I loved about this is, well, it's an Irish folklore, and
Yeah.
it feels more like an action movie that's been animated in this gorgeous hand drawn style. Every
Yeah.
frame feels like I could take it out and print it and put it up on my wall.
Yeah.
And it does feel like something you could get from Studio Ghibli. I do see that in it, but at the same time, there's enough here that it stands on its own. And just everything about this, it just drew me in completely. And I love that. Yes, this is something you can watch with your kids, but then there's so much to discuss with them in terms of you have those themes of the colonization and the
Right.
way man just takes more than they need, with no consideration for the environment and all of that. It's just, this was just wonderful. I just could not stop smiling while I was watching it, and it does feel like something that every time I watch, I'll get something different out of it. And my number one was a drama that I managed to see. It was on my list, and I'm so glad I found it time to watch it. Another Round, starring Mads Mikkelsen.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
guys,
Yeah. That's
I
right.
Ah,
want to
Nice.
listen.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
this film
Yeah.
was, I just want you guys to see it. It's equal parts, it's melancholy, but it's uplifting, and it tells the story of a group of men. They're all middle aged, and one of them talks about this
Mm.
theory that if you keep your blood alcohol level at zero
Right.
point 0.5, right,
Yeah.
it's like the perfect level to find
To
that
function.
artistic, yes, you can
Yeah.
function, but you'll be
Yeah.
free enough to express yourself and be the best of yourself. And they start doing it. They're all teachers at the school. They're all teaching
Right.
different backgrounds. Mads being a history teacher. And the beautiful thing with this movie, I mean, Mads Mikkelsen, I think this is his best performance to date. Guys, you just have to see this. This man,
I, i.e., my life 15 years ago.
okay,
Yeah.
right? And we watch, he's become so apathetic in his own life, and we
Right.
watch as he drinks how he starts to connect with his students, and you see where these men, it's more like a middle age crisis kind of thing going
Right.
on.
Right. Right.
But you, of course, if you live that, eventually you're gonna sort of lose control, and you see the destruction. So they do touch on all of that, but just the ending of this, the climax to this, is so liberating and so amazing. And Mads puts everything, like all the best aspects of himself, into this movie, that this is a 10 out of 10 for me. And another round, I would highly recommend that you try and check it out before the end of the year. This was
Nice.
just amazing.
All right, lovely, lovely,
Nice. Yeah.
lovely.
Great list. Yeah.
I will check out
Fantastic.
another round for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So before
That
we
on
get,
my watch list as well.
yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I got a chance to see. Yeah.
All right. So before we get to me, because Stevie the best for last, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Tracy, your 10 to 1 quickly, please.
Right. This is a mix of television and Jesus Lord, television and film. That's my iron. I just decided to do that whole scene. So this is a mix of television and film. So I'll just kind of go through it.
Yeah.
Number 10 is going to be season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Nice.
Mm.
For reasons and such and stuff and things like that. Although I will say I am one of those people who screamed and had a great deal of joy when I saw the end of it. But then I must be about 2 days later, as I started to realize, there's Ezra Bridger, there's other people that could have been used instead of the one guy.
Yeah, well, that happened. Nope.
And the thing that the thing that aggravates me about my own people, if I'm being really honest, is that if this was a film, if this was an anthology film, which it was like a one and done film or a trilogy, all the things that we've been hearing about Disney just shelling out and to make people link to their nostalgia and all that kind of stuff, is the same thing you would hear about The Mandalorian. But the series gives it enough time to breathe. I love the ending. I'm thrilled with the ending. For multiple reasons. The female team up, I thought they did that a whole lot better, to be honest, than the she's not alone in Endgame scene. I adored that. I like the idea of the Black Saber being with the Mandalorian. It's himself, and what's that going to mean for him later on? And then, of course, the reveal of Luke. All of that is glorious, but I feel like it could have stretched and gone further. But that's still there. Flight Attendant. The Flight Attendant is a new series.
Right.
It's on HBO Max or wherever the Dark Forces feel compelled to send us. But the Flight Attendant is Kaylee Cuoco, Rosie Perez is in that, Michelle Gomez. So she is a flight attendant, and she has a quote-unquote fun lifestyle. She travels all over the place. She's always drinking. She hooks up with this really cool guy, wakes up the next morning in Bangkok in his bedroom, and he's dead. And that's episode 1. That's like maybe the first, 20 minutes or something like that. And the music, the way how it's done, it's based on a book, but I'm like, now I need the book. It has a kind of deliciously sexy How to Get Away with Murder, but a little bit cleaner kind of vibe. So I'm here for that. The Crown.
Okay. Yeah.
Number 8, The Crown.
This is
Y'all vibes. Listen. So here's the thing. Like one of the things I liked about The Crown is that it sort of made Elizabeth, Her Majesty, like a person behind all of that. Like, okay, now I get why, I understand why you look this way. For me, growing up, like in terms of looking at that family growing up, it has always been watching that same Diana, Camilla, Charles dynamic. And if I'm being really honest, I had more affection for the Queen Mother because she always seemed like she was having a fun time, versus the Queen. No, like Queen Mother always looked like she knew where the best weed was. So she's like, that kind of vibe. And then to the introduction of Margaret Thatcher, I was born in 1981, so like coming on towards the end of Margaret Thatcher, but Margaret Thatcher has always been one of those characters, I think, that has pretty much been in my ears and in my books and whatever. So getting to see Gillian's portrayal of her join us. The Balmoral Test, which is episode 2, is by and large for me the best one, because it's Margaret Thatcher going, to their home in Scotland, and she's completely out of her element and realizing the country has to change from top to bottom, because if this is how the royals operate, what do we expect for the rest of the United Kingdom, the rest of Britain? So I thoroughly loved that. Mulan comes out next.
Okay. Wow.
My thing was comfort. My
Right.
thing with Mulan, I found that the relationship between I can't remember her character name right now, so let's just go with the witch. The witch and Mulan, like I felt like that could have been
Right.
strengthened a great deal more. What
Right.
I got
Right.
out of that was and I'm using the term Disney-fied Empire Strikes Back, in terms of
Yeah.
we know that Mulan is on the light side and she can use her powers for gloriousness and all that kind of stuff. And whereas the witch has decided to join forces and, go with the other guy. But there's a line that she even says inside it, says, if you join with me, we could be powerful and we could take over and those kind of things. And I'm like, there you go, Luke. So that was a scene for me. Zine is next on my list. I think that's like number 5. Zine is
Oh yeah, I remember that from the TNT Film Festival. I
Yes.
actually told you, recommended you check it out. That movie was, that short film was excellent. Yeah.
So the general premise, because of film festival and everything that was going on, I got to see like some stuff that I would not normally get to see, and it's the idea of this Caucasian Jamaican Canadian dude who is doing this mockumentary type film, Brothers in Babylon. And so it's a mockumentary on his process while he's making the film, and he has no idea how to connect with his Jamaican culture, and he does it in the worst possible stereotypical way, and so we follow him. It's him having the so-called villain, which is like one of the characters, the black guy, who is like a gangster, and whenever he gets angry, he screams out "jerk chicken," and it's like that, like that kind of shit. And I just looked at it and I laughed my head off. It was one of those things that in the bundle that I kept coming back to, because with Film Festival you actually got nice bundles that you could do stuff. That was joy for me to watch. So I was like, yes, this is a thing. Palm Springs.
Nice.
You guys already touched on that, so let me just say I loved
Yeah.
Palm Springs. I loved Palm Springs. I have something. What is it here? Justice League Dark Apocalypse War.
Nice.
Justice League Dark Apocalypse War for me feels like so I've already seen the Zack Snyder cut. That's Justice League Apocalypse War. I don't necessarily need to see it much.
Right.
Yeah, remember? Yeah, Ricardo, you made that same point. I think so.
Right. There should be one.
We've seen it. Thank you very much. It's great.
Yeah. Good.
So no, but like that's my thing. I really did like it, and I liked because for me, like, okay, it ties now into even in the comics the idea of the rebirth. So Barry has to do his thing at the end because Barry's always mucking it up for everybody, but he has to go and do his thing again. So join us. Then there is, what is it here? There is Wonder Woman herself. Like when I say Wonder Woman, the very first one, because 2017 when that one came out, I watched it. I was in cinemas. Well, I saw it all over again. You know me, how I feel about Wonder Woman. But in preparation for 84, I legitimately watched that a few times this year. That was joy. And then, of course, Birds of Prey is one of those things. Like, I have both soundtracks for Birds of Prey. So I have the various artists soundtrack, and then I have the actual soundtrack with like Huntress's theme, and just randomly walk around the house singing "Coo, coo, coo, coo." So that's a real thing. I just really love it, and I think CC, you made a very succinct and real thought process on Birds of Prey. So for me, it's just like, it's joy. I love it. That works for me. I'm thrilled. And the actual controversial pick for me. And I will preface this by saying, when I sat down and I watched, well, I mean, first of all, I had the Wonder Woman 1984 soundtrack before I even watched the film, because like they released it 2 days or 3 days beforehand. So bless you, Hans Zimmer. So what I tend to do is, before I go to see a film, I like listening to the soundtrack and see if I can match up. It's a weird thing, but I like to see where it could match up and what it could mean. And a few of the tracks were pretty much explanatory. The Games, Themyscira. There's a track in there that says "I'm already gone." So I was like, "Oh, that's when Steve dies again." So you know that kind of that kind of thing. What I got out of 1984 for me, there is the 80s big, Tom Hanks big, that
Right.
wish fulfillment sensibility. I mean, like even the idea, the quasi cheesy idea of as soon as you make the wish, your hair starts to blow because you know the wind is passing. So I got that big sensibility out of it. I got very MacGyver versus Murdoch kind of vibe. That 80s action, 80s action vibe, to be honest, which is really evident when you listen to Hans Zimmer's track, the Open Road, which is basically that scene where she's in Egypt. So you listen to the Open Road, and I'm listening to that, and I'm thinking, okay, that is the MacGyver, Murdoch, Magnum PI-esque part of it. My thing with Diana, my thing with this story is that, you know, Diana has always been about love, whereas, you know, Bruce is dark justice, and which was a really cool 90s show, now that I think about it. But anyhow, Bruce is about is about vengeance and justice. Clark is about truth, but Clark tends to get pushed aside because he's very messianic, and it's like, do we actually need a messiah? You know, as opposed to let's just go save ourselves. Bruce will beat the crap out of you to get the information because, you know, but where she's concerned, her thought process, even in the animated series and in the animated movies, as much as she will pummel you, she wants to find another way in order to do it. So, like that scene in the White House where she tells Steve, and this is a small spoiler for everyone, but you know, Steve takes up a sword, and she's like, "No, you can't do that because, you know, they're affected.
It's not their fault. Yeah.
It's not their fault."
Yeah.
That for me is deep Diana, and I feel like for reasons like that and the mid-credit scene, I keep going back to it. I had a smile on my face for the whole time. And then I you know, coming out of that whole scene as well, I started back thinking about 2016. And for me, I realized the problem, if there is a real problem with Wonder Woman 1984, it has to go all the way back to Batman versus Superman at the end, where, you know, Snyder, in his absolute wisdom, wrote in this whole line that she stayed away from mankind for 100 years. And so there's nothing for her to do for 100 years, because after 1914 and she saves people from, you know, Ares, what does she do? Oh, well, she goes into seclusion. And then Joss comes in with that fiasco of Justice League. And he comes in, that's whole, you know, I loved Joss at one point in time, but that's another story. And Joss sort of tries to retcon that by saying, you know, there's a conversation she has with Bruce where she says to Bruce, when I was needed, I came out, but for all intents and purposes, I still stayed in the, you know, in the background.
Yeah.
So any stake that she, you know, any big thing that she does is always going to have to whittle back down to, you know, being under the radar. If what had happened in the events of 1984 had legitimately been allowed to flourish, then the question would be, okay, so if missiles and all that kind of stuff and everybody went haywire and all that kind of stuff actively happened, why is it that there's no memory, or there's no So
I'm gonna give a slight defense of that, because I don't think the film all that bad in that way. But like, is the stone, once you undo the wish, other wishes undone, right?
Everything. So because with that in mind, it's still all that does for me is that, okay, so now that everything is undone and everybody goes back to their normal self, their quote unquote normal self, Diana goes back to her life of, I don't know, solitude or whatever,
Solitude, yeah,
until
yeah.
Bruce,
Right.
Lex comes and steals her picture, and then Bruce has to go,
Right.
and then Steppenwolf. So I don't know. I just really, I know I'm in the minority. I know I'm in the minority. It's like, when people say, I like Rise of Skywalker. Um, but I thoroughly enjoyed
Well,
Wonder Woman 1984. And I feel like, I mean, now
Right.
that I have it here, I saw it twice. I will probably watch it, well, probably again. And I will end with this. Um, that mid-credit scene, Patty had said some time before that she wanted to do, there were two movies that they wanted to do. Well, Wonder Woman 3, and she wanted to do a film on the Amazons itself. When I looked
Yes.
at that mid-credit scene, I was like, and that's how you do that's your in, because now I can get to see the story of that particular character,
Yeah.
and you can get a young actress to play, young version of that character, etc.,
Right.
etc.,
Right.
or
Right.
have
Yeah.
Diana meet up with her, whatever. That could be a very good spin-off, and so I am eagerly looking forward, because they just signed off and said that Wonder Woman 3 is actually happening. Like a little while ago,
okay.
Vanity Fair came out and said, "Hey, Warner Brothers has released the news. Wonder Woman 3 is happening with
Right.
Patty." So maybe we could do without Jeff Johns, but that's another story.
Right.
Yes.
So
No, I'm with you there.
There's another thing, Tracy, as you're addressing that I had initial issue with, but when I gave it thought, if they do what I think they're trying to do, I think it could work. Which is, I felt like the ending was a bit anticlimactic in the terms of we have these two villains, and really and truly they are not. They seem like they're left to their own devices by the end of the movie.
right, right.
And one of the problems is Wonder Woman's roster of villains is not that epic. It's not as
Right.
memorable as Spider-Man and Batman and even
Mm-hmm,
Superman.
mm-hmm.
She always tends to fight these Greek gods, or if she does fight anything on the level of Thanos, it's one of Superman's villains. It's not
Right.
hers, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And going up against characters like Max Lord, there was never gonna be a fist fight between them. I wasn't
Exactly.
expecting that. And how she dealt with him, I really liked that. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I'm looking for a villain to grow with this character. And I think if they do what they did, like what Marvel did with Thanos, is
Mm-hmm.
we never got a Thanos movie, but what we got was these end credit bits that we could put together, and we built the personality of this character based on that. And
Yes.
I feel like if they do that with Cheetah, for example, if they take the time and not just give her these one and done villains to fight. Okay, I have this movie, I fight this villain, I destroy them, I move on. If they give the villain time to grow and breathe and develop, then we wouldn't have these issues, because
Right.
Minerva's reasons, I understood why she
Yeah.
was thinking
Oh,
the
I
way she
quite
was
like Minerva
thinking,
too. Yeah.
but
Exactly. Yeah.
at the same time, I don't just want a villain whose issue is I'm jealous of you. I want
Right.
more from
Well,
that,
we don't. That's the thing. Again, I will defend that because it's not that she's not jealous per se of particularly Diana, but it's just general how the world treating she like shit kind of thing. No?
right?
That's
Yeah,
why I
that's
kind
true.
of got with the
Yeah.
character. That's why
This this
I don't hate this movie. I just think it just didn't gel together.
I mean, I really wanted to like it. I liked the setting. I felt it was underutilized, but I liked the setting. I liked the sensibilities. There's just a couple. I think this could have used, if you took this premise with the same writing team as the first movie, I think we would have had a brilliant
Right.
sequel. There was like there were a couple things I felt that there was repeated, and a few things that could have been cut. Like this is a movie that could have been shorter than it was, but then, and it's also like a few things I don't think were as explored as fully as they could have been. But that's my
Right.
only. But I do not begrudge. It's not a movie I begrudge people for liking. It's not like something like Rise of Skywalker, where I do have people that like it, and I kind of look at them a little funny, like, "What are
Yeah.
you?" Oh well.
Yeah.
But but like, I don't begrudge people who like Wonder Woman 1984. No.
Yeah.
Well, therein lies my list. I've just checked it out. It's like that's 10.
Right.
Zine, Palm Springs, Wonder
There you
Woman 84, Wonder Woman, Mulan, etc., etc.
I love.
Okay.
Yeah, Matthew, you got yourself a very uncontroversial episode here.
There
Like,
you go.
like,
For
no,
real.
No fighting, no online hate, no nothing. You got a very unconscious.
You know,
No,
it's
I
gonna
can't
it's gonna
deal
be
with that. I
peaceful.
can't deal with the hate, man. I mean, I'm not
Oh
even
God,
going
no!
for
I'm
that
on
right
Twitter. It's the worst.
No, it's stupid. Like I don't like Wonder Woman 1984, but some of the criticisms people are levying on Twitter are idiotic. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's a little
garbage.
bit much. Yeah, it's
It's
a bit
garbage.
much.
ugh.
now. All right, so let me close things off with my top 10 list, right? I won't explain away everything, but I'll just give you a little gist as to why I picked these, right? Number 10, Small Axe, Lovers Rock. This was one
Nice.
that a lot of people will say was the best movie of the year, but I totally disagree. And while it is your average, oh, we just seeing this, this house party basically through the eyes of these characters, it was just seeing this vibe, and it was just basically a celebration of reggae music. Well, specifically Lovers Rock, right? So it just kind of
Mm.
you're literally a fly on the wall as you just see these characters just kind of interact with each other just while the music is playing, and it's just hit after hit after hit. And I don't know, like for as short as it was, and yes, it is a tad bit overrated. I dug it. To me, because this film is sort of released also through the Trojan music label. For those who don't know, they have curated like just a ton of like reggae, albums and singles, right? So they have their catalog, their reggae catalog is insane, right? This one felt like, okay, well, this needs to be the most musical of all the five films because majority, well, all except for Education, has reggae music in it. But this one really hit it in terms of, yeah, this is what it's all about. This is all about a celebration of reggae music, but it's in England and it's Jamaican immigrants, but you still have that down to earth vibe now. Number 9 is Small Axe again, Mangrove. This is the best film in the
Nice.
entire series. It's I made the joke that this was way better than the Trial of the Chicago Seven. Well, this is a courtroom drama, which caught me by surprise because I thought it was just going to be all this drama about this Jamaican immigrant trying to maintain this restaurant while they have these racist white cops try to bring him down. But it was powerful in those moments and in the courtroom moments as well too.
Yep.
Lupita Nyong'o, the supporting
No,
cast as well were great.
Letitia Wright.
Sorry, Letitia Wright. My bad.
Yeah.
I think it Black
Black
Panther
Panther.
for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, Letitia Wright was excellent in it. It's kind of weird that they have her as the main lead as promoting the material now. Sorry,
Right.
in the promotion material. But no, I mean
Oh,
it's
she's the
not
biggest
really
star.
her. But she's part of it, and she was great.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, this is, in my opinion, the best Small Axe series. And if you haven't seen the Small Axe series, yeah, definitely check it out. Number
Yeah.
8, a movie that I was hearing a lot of, and I was hearing about how it was hard to categorize, and I was like, all right, hard to categorize. Let me see what this thing is about, boy. Bacurau. This is a Brazilian film which
Yes.
came out in 2019, but it was
Oh, okay.
released in the States 2020. I love
Right.
this. It was just this genre mashup of conspiracy theory thriller and just it had some John Carpenter tribute in it and a little bit of
Okay.
sci-fi, a little bit
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
horror in it as well too, a little bit
Yeah.
and some action as well too. And without spoiling it, the message of Bacurau is, dude, don't mess with anybody in that place, Chad. It's basically this village in Brazil, and these guys want to get rid of them, more or less chase them out violently for reasons.
Okay.
And he told people like, no, you come across us, we're gonna gun your asses down. And that's pretty much what it is. And also, as I talk about gun your ass down, yeah, it have elements of Western in it as well too. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just amazing how you see all these genres just fused together.
People just forget. People just forget that Brazil have a massive desert in it. Like.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it have like a lot of Brazilian westerns in it.
Is this a
Like,
Netflix movie? Is it on
Uh,
Netflix?
well, it should be, but it's not on Netflix at the moment. Yeah.
Okay.
But and it also has a political undertone as well to it, which if I was familiar with Brazilian, politics, I would have picked up on. But you could kind of assume what they really going for with this one. But to me, I just dug the throwbacks to like John Carpenter and just different genres as well too. But it felt very cohesive and it's just a damn entertaining film. Number 7, Sound of Metal.
I
yes.
want to
Yes.
see this
I
so
should.
badly.
I did get a chance to see
Oh
this
my
because this would have probably
gosh.
be on my top 10 if I did went and see it in time.
Yeah, one of Riz Ahmed's best
Nice one.
performances, though. If
Nice one.
this man
Yeah.
does not
Yeah.
get an Oscar nom, I'll be very, very, very mad. I mean, at the Academy. Also, the sound design for this was
Yeah.
fantastic. Essentially, it's about this drummer. He's part of this metal duo group, basically, and he loses his hearing. And basically, we just follow him as he tries to get his hearing back. But it's so endearing and powerful, and you really do feel for this guy. You know? Riz Ahmed gives a powerful performance, so you do relate to him in a sense. And just seeing his journey though was just so emotionally moving in my opinion though. And once again, the sound design is just brilliant though, because it just puts you in his headspace that you literally do feel at times like, oh my god, I can't hear this. I would say listen to this movie with headphones if you can, or just get a
Right.
really good stereo and just raise it up and you'll just hear what I'm talking about, right? Number six, an absolute must see for music video directors. Beyonce knows Carter's Black is King.
Wow.
This
Mhm.
Okay. So put it
one,
on there. Nice one.
yeah, I had to put this one high.
Easy.
At its heart, it is more or less a companion piece to the 2019 Lion King movie, which nobody
Right.
asked for. No offense to John Favreau. Sorry,
Really.
no disrespect, but nobody asked for it. But anyway, and in her case, it's more of an Afrocentric, specifically Afrocentric take on the whole Simba story, basically, right?
Right.
But
Right.
she
Yeah.
tells it in this very loose, very artsy way. It is very artsy, right? Fair some people might watch this and find it to be incomprehensible, very artsy fartsy, but I kind of dug that about. I dug how different and unique it was. And yes, it's pretty much propelled by the soundtrack that Beyonce put out for the Lion King, right? Which is a gift, right?
Right.
Here she just visualizes all the songs off that album. And as someone who listened to the album when it came out, I was like, yeah, that's alright, it's cool. I like Spirit. Spirit was the
Right.
best song in the movie. Just seeing all these songs visualized in this movie, I like, all right, I love this album now. I love it. Um, every scene, like every song, is visualized so beautifully in this too. Brown Skin Girl in particular, that is a highlight. Like you could
Yeah.
go on YouTube and watch that video. That is just a celebration of Black pride and of just beauty
Mhm.
as a whole. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Right.
And the production design for this, the costume design is insane. Just so much of great costumes in this. And yes, we could argue that yes, it is a vehicle for Beyonce to promote her music because she's all in the videos, so to speak. But I'm sorry, I mean she's just great in this show. I mean, the
Yeah.
singing, just the songwriting, and some great cameos as well. Well, musical cameos it is as well too. But like I
Right.
said at the beginning, if you're a music video director, you need to watch this all these fantastic shots and cinematography though. Yeah, excellent movie. I didn't think that Disney Plus would have put this out. This was a bold move, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean Beyonce have clout and she showed it here. And I would say last thing last, she really showing herself to be a great director in my opinion though. Not just in music videos, but just film in period. So yeah, by all means, definitely check out Black is King. Number five, just throw it back to what Alice said earlier. His House, in my
Right.
opinion, the best horror
Nice one.
film of the year, and some I haven't forgotten. Yeah, you could just share your top 10 horror films afterwards, and then we can
Yes,
close things
yes.
off. Yes. This one caught me completely by surprise. I was hearing nothing but great things about it, and I saw it, and I was like, all right, it's doing the haunted house thing, but it's telling this story with African immigrants coming to England and all that kind of stuff, and it just tells it such a compelling way. So yes, you do get your scares and whatnot, but it's not scare heavy, right? It's really the emotional weight that's going on and that really really stuck with me. So yeah, number four, Marini's Black Bottom,
Nice. Nice one.
i.e.,
Ooh,
the
ooh.
final film performance of Chadwick Boseman you will see. And as someone who hasn't seen all of his films, yeah, this is easily the best performance he's given. This is one, like I said in my review, that theater art students are gonna study. Like, oh, this is what he did. Look at the nuances in his performance and all that kind of stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
he commands that role though. And just when you
Right.
think, oh, it's gonna be about him, no, Viola Davis comes in and knocks him out the park too. And it's even to the point that both of them just kind of clash, like, yo, it's my movie, it's my movie, it's my movie, right? But it works. But at its heart, it really tells this really, it's cynical, but at the same time, really truthful and um, endearing, pretty much story of just how music was in the 20s, right? Just how
Yeah.
African American musicians tried to get their names out there, but just because
Right.
of the situations that they have to deal with, it's like
Mhm.
almost it unfortunately ends up being like a every man for himself scenario, right? And you
Mm.
just see like just Viola's ego as Marini and Chadwick's ego just clashing together, though. And as a whole, it is a stage play, pretty much visualized on screen.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah. I mean, it is very, very well acted, very well structured, very well blocked. You know what I mean? Just put together, and yeah, some solid music as well too. I have a feeling that Chadwick is going to be nominated posthumously for his performance, but I would
Right.
love to see Viola at least get nominated for this one. But yeah, she was fan freaking tastic in this. Number three.
You mash a man clocks, right?
Yeah, boy, and all this stuff about clocks and matching the shoes. But we would do. I don't want to spoil it to be on that. Number three, Pixar's Soul. I actually saw
Nice
this a
man.
few days
Nice man.
ago. Actually watched this Christmas Day before watching Wonder Woman 1984. And like you, Ricardo, I wasn't sure if this was aimed entirely for kids or,
Right.
where it was going and whatnot. But once I looked into the story and I got into its existential themes of life and death, and I mean, on top of all that, you have really stunning, gorgeous animation. Pixar just outdo themselves, sorry, with every film. And this one, wow. Voice acting was great. The choice of music was great. Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross, providing a jazz score for this. Like, what? You know what I mean? But it also
Yeah.
has their kind of flair for dark ambient music as well, too. But it's just really the story that gripped me, right? Just the whole idea of what happens in the afterlife and all that kind of stuff. And I won't lie to you guys, man tears, near the
Yeah,
end,
that's hard.
man tears just
Yeah.
started hitting my boy. And it just tells a
Yeah.
simple but very, very powerful message about life, you know what I mean? So for me, this is one I'm gonna go back to over and over and over. I know when it comes to Pixar films, it's always like the cutesy ones with the talking fish and the talking rat and all that kind of stuff. But for me, is the message, and is like all I would say though is one of those shows that the older I get, the more that movie's gonna resonate with me. Pixar took a risk with this show here, and I thought that it paid off immensely, Judd. So yeah, can't recommend this enough. Number two, I had to really wrestle with this one here because while it is flawed in terms of just certain aspects about it, just things that needed to be told apparently, the story itself just worked for me, and it just resonated with what was going on this year as far as Black Lives Matter. And for me, it was just another example of one of my favorite directors, just showing that even in 2020 he could still knock it out of the park. Spike Lee's The Five Bloods.
Nice.
Ooh.
Yes, one.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
This
Good
could
ones.
have been a little bit lower on my list, right? But the more I thought about it, I was like, nah, boy. I mean, the man really, really did it. Not only did we get a great performance from Chadwick Boseman, even though he's not in the show that much, but Delroy Lindo, boy, holy shit! If
Yeah.
this guy does not get an Oscar nomination, I will be
Yeah.
very, 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 very displeased with the Academy,
Tables.
right?
Tables will be flipped.
Yes. But yeah, and it just told this story of this parallels with the Vietnam War and just the aftermaths of it in terms of African American soldiers and PTSD and what they had to deal with. But then also just going even further and talking about just the struggles of the black community in history and just relating that now to Black Lives Matter. So yes,
Right.
there's a lot that Spike juggles with this film though, but he tells it. Yes, there are some little creative hiccups here or there. He has to
Right.
stop and be didactic. He has to remind you of
Right.
certain things. He has to do his Spike Lee isms. But to me, it's like at this point in time, it's a Spike Lee joint. You know what to expect with this. And to me, it's just like Spike Lee still showing that, yeah, at his age, he could still be as thought-provoking, as fresh, as unique, as different. And yeah, pretty much give you a war film that isn't a war film. And the last time he got that was what? Inglourious Basterds, right? Which is directed by Spike's, long-term enemy, Quentin Tarantino, right?
She.
Oh.
Wows.
Is that real? Is that true?
Oh, they have a-
Why I
they
say
have
that though?
bad
Because yeah, from a long time. Because
They have-
ever since Pulp Fiction and Jackie Brown, Spike has
Oh.
hated the fact that Quentin has put the N word or have
Too much
characters see the N word. It's like, oh, what's
Right.
this
Much.
white writer / director saying having characters see the N word for?
Right.
Like, let's do this with
Yeah,
Django Unchained.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a bit
Okay.
much, yeah.
Yeah. At this point, I want to see like Samuel L. Jackson moderate like a public debate between
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
between
Oh,
Quentin
good
Tarantino
choice.
and Spike Lee. Like, I would pay money
Yeah.
to see that.
Yeah,
That'll get
for
everyone
real.
back in theaters. Like, have it broadcast live to theaters all over the planet.
Yeah, for real.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
But number one, man, this was a tough one for me, right? Because I mean, as I said earlier on, I was expecting the releases of some great films. Well, hopefully they'll be great once. Well, hopefully they are great. So yeah, I was let down, and I was like, all right, well, something has to blow my way this year, something, right? And then
Right.
Hamilton happened.
Ah, boy.
Woohoo!
Of
Yes.
course.
And
Nice
at
one.
first I was like,
Hell
Hamilton,
yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a recording of a stage
A
play.
play.
It's a
Yeah.
musical, but
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
musical though, and it's a stage play. Like, how could this
Yeah.
be
It
number
hard.
one?
Yeah,
But
it
Mm.
as
real hard.
someone who has always dreamed of seeing this performance live, and now thanks to
I
Disney Plus,
know.
see
Yeah.
this thing for myself, I was blown
Yeah. It was
up.
real hard.
Right.
From camera setup to
Yes,
where
sir.
the actors are, from blocking to
Yeah.
lighting to the songs. Oh my God, the songs
Bangers.
will
Whew.
take away my shot or whatever the
Yeah.
chorus.
My shot.
I can't remember.
My
The
shot.
V
Yeah.
Mix just comes in and just kills it. But I always loved him as a rapper and as an actor, but I didn't think that he could, do a Broadway, play,
Yeah.
and he just
Yeah.
kills it. Right? Everybody just comes through and
Oh
does
yeah.
their damn thing. But I'm like, wow, they did this thing on a nightly basis. How did he write all
Right.
Yeah.
these
Fire.
lines and all that kind of stuff? And a majority of the show is centered on songs now. I'm like,
Yeah.
how did all
Oh
these
yeah.
things, all this stuff? Oh, I don't know. But
Oh, it's
yeah,
so
to
good.
me, it just showed the best of what Broadway has has to offer. It showed the
Yeah.
best of what just plays itself has to offer.
Right.
Even though I don't know everything as far as the American history, historical
Mm.
backdrop
Right.
of this film yet, but still, just seeing everything play out in such just yeah, for lack of a better word, theatrical kind of way was just amazing.
Oh yeah.
For 3 hours straight, because yeah, I watched this for about 3 hours. I forgot about all the BS that 2020 offered
I
to me.
know, right?
For
Nice.
real.
I was just basking in the glory of this movie here.
Well, I
And yeah,
think.
I have a feeling with more
Right.
viewings, I'm just gonna love this even more. Disney
Oh
Plus,
yeah.
Disney, y'all need to put this out on home media. I need to buy this shit
For
as soon.
real.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
number one, Hamilton. If you
That
guys
sounds
haven't
like a
seen
good
it,
old year's night
watch
watch.
it. Watch it.
I have to watch it as well.
It's so good. Well, like, because it started the whole discussion. Because I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like there's always been this big discussion in theater. Because I mean, I run in a lot of theater circles, but there's always this big debate about whether or not certain theater shows should be recorded and like put out on home media. Because
Right.
a lot of people argue that like the big draw for theater is that it's like a one done. You'll
Right.
never see it again. It adds to the specialness. But there's a lot of us who can't see Broadway. Like we can't
Yeah.
see Broadway shows. We can't. So getting to see a recorded version of it is actually like the is as close to the experience as a lot of us can get. Like when it comes to finances or geographic location or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated the release of Hamilton, and I love that they put it out in the middle of the summer during the pandemic, because then like for this glorious week, and it very slowly faded out, but there was this whole glorious week where like again, like you're saying, we all put aside the bullshit of 2020 and just enjoyed Hamilton.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And all like, and then suddenly it's like back when the play was like first hit Broadway, and like everyone was singing the songs and everyone was sharing the songs. Everyone was like, I know there was the other album where it was like covers of the songs by other rappers, and it was like all this like
Yeah.
the hype.
Yeah.
And then we got to see this wonderful like new burst of hype. And for me, who again not seen the show, I've only listened to the soundtrack several times because I do love it, but finally getting to see it and getting to appreciate the staging and the performances was
Yeah.
just amazing. It was definitely one of the highlights. No, I would completely agree. One of the big highlights of 2020. Oh my god.
Yeah, definitely. Caught me completely by surprise. So
Yeah.
yeah, 2020. A recording of a stage play is the best movie I saw all year.
For real.
Well,
Oh
I
man.
mean, but before we part ways, guys, Summer, can you please share with us your top 10 favorite horror movies of the year?
It's actually 20. Well, I'll run through it really fast, like what I normally do. I'll just describe quickly what it is. Number 20, La Llorona. And I say this is
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
fresh spin on a familiar legend. And
Yeah.
this one was set against the backdrop of a real life horror, which was the annihilation, the genocide of the first people, the Mayan people, in I think it was in Guatemala, I believe it was. So this was really well done. It's kind of like his house, but from perspective. Number 19 was The Wolf of Snow Hollow. I'm
Yes.
always
I
seeking
heard about
out
this.
good, I'm always seeking out good werewolf movies, and with the exception of not liking the lead in this, this was a solid werewolf movie. Number 18 was Hashtag Alive, South Korean zombie horror,
Oh
and it
yeah, I
really
heard of this. Yeah.
incorporates, it fit perfectly into 2020 with all of the lockdowns and the quarantines and that sort of thing, and it. Thank God for this because the follow-up to Train to Busan was so terrible
Right. Yeah.
that
It's a shame. Yeah.
I
Look,
don't know what I would have
I
done
was
without
fair
this.
to it. I was fair to it. It was trying to be different. Trying. Train to
I'm
Busan
failing.
presents
I'm
dot.
failing.
Okay, moving on.
Number 17 is a film called 1BR, and it's basically your fear of your neighbors done right horror. It's about this girl who moves into an apartment complex, and it turns out the entire apartment complex has this whole cult-like thing where you obey the rules and you fall in line or you never leave alive. So it was really well
Wow.
done.
Okay.
I don't
Number
know what to say.
16. Number 16, it was a film called Scare Me, and I call this one improv horror
Okay.
because it tells a story of a novelist, an aspiring novelist who goes to stay in a cabin, and it turns out that a successful novelist is staying in the cabin right across the lake from him. They decide to just spend the night together drinking and telling each other scary stories on the fly to see who could tell the better scary story. And guys, I think for sure Ricardo should definitely see this one, just to see the way that these stories unfold. It's like I said, it's very improv like, very interesting, and it definitely when the finale hits, it hits hard. So
So
it's interesting.
it's a super serious adult version of Are You Afraid of the Dark then?
Yes. Right. It's basically what might happen if Stephen King and Dean Koontz got locked in a room together. So
Wow.
number 15 number 15 was a comedy anthology horror called Scare Package.
Right.
It's not
Oh
the
yes,
greatest
you
thing I've
recommended
ever
that to me
seen,
to watch
but
for Halloween.
yeah. It was very funny and very Tales from the Crypt like, but with a lot
Right.
more humor. So I enjoyed it a lot. Number 14 was The Platform. And
Right.
this
Yeah.
blew me away. This was definitely social commentary horror done right. And if you haven't seen it, I think it's still on Netflix. Number 13, The Lodge. And I call this one psychological horror done right because it tells a story of these two kids who go and stay at the winter lodge of their father with their father and his fiance, and they have not gotten over the fact that their mother had just died like a year before. To say any more would be to really spoil this movie, so I have to leave it right there. But this is some messed up shit. You guys need to, if you want to check this out, The Lodge, it's really well done. It's Shining-esque, but it's so much more than that. Number 12 is Black Box, and I call this one
Nice.
Total. If Total Recall was a horror movie,
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
so
it's the best. Well, one of the best, I think. Blumhouse films you got to say.
yes, I agree with it. Yeah, I agree with your first assessment. It was the best of the Welcome to Blumhouse bunch. The rest were completely forgettable. Number 11 was called Spontaneous, and this tells the story of
Oh, I
teenagers
wanted
that
to see
start
that.
spontaneously
Yo.
exploding for no reason.
hmm
You just need to see this one. I'm not gonna say anything, but it's a really funny take on being a teenager and trying to live in the moment because you don't know when your life might end. So definitely check it out if you can. Number 10, Freaky. And I thought this was a really
Okay.
fun spin on a very
Nice.
well-worn
Yeah, it's cool.
genre.
Yeah.
You know, we've all seen Freaky Friday done a million
Yeah.
ways, but we've never seen it quite done like this. Number 9 was His House. And I call this one When the Ghosts of Your Past Literally Haunt You horror.
Uh-huh.
This was
Uh-huh.
very well done. And I do agree it's one of the best for the year, but I just saw others that stuck with me a bit more. And so number 8, and it's called Host. And
Right,
this is what I
right,
call the perfect lockdown horror movie. This one was done completely with like what they did with Unfriended through,
right.
but the fear here is definitely very amped up. The tension is really well done, and it definitely delivers on that whole trope of using only laptop cameras and that sort of
Right.
thing. Because what you don't see is definitely more scarier than what you see. Number 7 was Sputnik, and
Nice.
I absolutely love this. Yeah, this is such an ode to classic sci-fi horror,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
if 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 you guys haven't seen it, it's a bit of a slow burn, but it's definitely really well crafted and well done. Number 6 was Relic.
Nice.
This
Yeah.
was a yeah,
Recommend.
Yes,
this
Yeah.
yes,
was
yes.
the horrors of growing old and losing your
Yeah.
loved ones, that sort of thing. Number
Right.
5. Now, my number 5, I think people might be a little like, no way, but I'm giving it to Underwater. I keep
Okay.
coming back
Well,
to
okay.
this movie.
Huh.
Yeah, I keep coming back to this movie, and I know it's derivative of films like The Abyss and Aliens,
Right.
but I think the ending is a great twist ending, but the performances by all the characters, with the exception of T.J. Miller, it's so well grounded, and it just feels like it was nice to see this type of story told without caricatures, and these people felt like real characters. Everybody was working together to keep each other alive, and I think this is one of Kristen Stewart's best performances. So I keep coming back to this one, and I think this is one of those movies that people appreciate more with time.
Right.
Number 4 was Color of Out of Space.
Nice.
uh,
Nice. Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
Oh yeah,
this
yeah.
was H.P.
With we
Lovecraft
boy
at
Nick
its
Cage in it.
Yes. Yes.
yes.
Richard
Number
Dent
3,
back.
yeah. Number 3,
So
The Mortuary Collection.
Okay. Nice.
This is a horror anthology done in the vein of Trick or Treat. It's so well put together. It's so well shot and well done. And then Clancy Brown is the head of the mortuary. So I'll just leave that right there for you guys.
yeah.
Uh,
God
Number
bless.
2 was Possessor Uncut.
Nice. Yeah.
And
I love it.
yeah, this one really
The
messed with me.
yeah the uncut was a
I
bit
feel
butchery.
real left out, boy. Like I feel like I just didn't get to something, or I expected more.
I don't, it's just
I
so
like this. This good.
unapologetically
Yeah.
gruesome.
Yeah. It's gross.
You know,
Yeah.
it's mean. It's a mean movie, and it
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah. Yeah.
care that it's a
Yeah.
mean movie.
Yeah,
You know,
but I don't know.
but there was
I just want meaning to my meanness, if that makes sense.
Ah,
That's
that's
just
hard
me.
one.
Yeah,
I like
right.
it. The
Yeah,
ending. The ending was good too. It's
yeah.
like,
The
yeah,
ending,
that,
was
yeah.
good. It was
yeah.
just so messed up, and it did
Yeah.
not care.
Yeah.
But there was one horror movie that just rocked me to my core. And as somebody who watches a lot of horror, I don't get freaked out. I don't get scared. But The Dark and the Wicked
Nice.
was
Oh
so
yeah,
Sounds
I
like
heard you
fun.
talked about that.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I always tell people The Exorcist never really freaked me out.
Right.
It's those quiet moments when like Pazuzu's face would pop up in the dark, or in the cold. Those are the things I find chilling. And this movie gives you that level of chill, and it never lets up. It absolutely never lets. It just builds and builds and builds. And it's a great story about the importance of communication in a family,
Right.
Right.
structured around just this force coming after these people with no type of, should I say, no rescue in sight. The Dark and the Wicked, I haven't seen anything like this in a long, long time. And I think this is one of the best horror movies I've seen in just the most terrifying horror movie I've seen in a very long time. So that was my number 1 for 2020.
Nice.
All right. Well, thanks for those recommendations. We'll definitely check them out, boy. So yeah, this has been our season finale of Bears Beats and Bailey. On such a crummy year as 2020, boy, we managed to see some stuff. So, yeah, we kind of got what we got. So, I mean, I'm not going to be the one to, complain and be like, well, we could have gotten this or that. It's just, we got what we got. But, here's hoping that 2021 is better. Just period. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I
But
call
yeah,
it the return to sanity.
return to
Hopefully.
sanity.
I saw this
Yeah.
great I saw this great meme where everyone's like, we all went into 2020 like, yeah, it's gonna be my year, yeah, whatever, and we're all kind of we're all going into 2021 like, look, man, I don't want any trouble, just like, just take my
Well,
wallet and go.
if anybody's interested, Twitter says that there is a new strain called super gonorrhea that is going on. So
Oh,
2020 is
Perfect.
ending off, So
I need to have a long talk with this writer's room. They need to pick.
I maintain.
Come on, 2020 writers room. Like, come on, stop repeating plot lines. Let us move on.
So there you have it. Super gonorrhea.
So moving from super gonorrhea, so as we normally do before we part ways, we just let let the world know where we can be found online. Hopefully, it's not to share news about super gonorrhea.
There you
So Ricardo, where can we find you online?
Passat, RMEDY on Twitter. You can just type in at RMEDY on Twitter. And then you could do that also on Twitch. Right? I have a Twitch. I
nice.
started.
Well
I
done.
started as something. And then just type in Ricardo Medina on Facebook, and you will find me there.
All right, Alice, where can we find you online?
Okay, you can find me on Facebook. I have a group called Dark Alice Reviews, and I also do reviews for Red Mango Reviews as well too. You could also find me on Instagram at Alice Oscura.
All right, nice. Well, Alice, thank you so much for coming through here. I'm glad that you're part of this season finale. I'm glad that at least we were able to find good out of this year. And as far as the year go, yeah, we can't wait for this year to end. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
But
there's more years to go.
Yeah.
yeah, boy. But here's to an excellent and just kick-ass 2021. So yeah, I mean, all the best to you, Alice. I want to see Dark Alice reviews, shine and just more people, check it out as well too. And yeah,
Thanks.
hopefully you'll get to see more great reviews and some great movies in the process. All right, you could find me on Twitter as well. Just look for Bear Beat Bailey. On Instagram, you could find me at Bears Beats and Bailey. On Facebook, just look for my name, Matthew Bailey. That's a lot of Baileys I know, including Illegally Black blog official fan base. Where you find a link to this podcast as well as the ones that we've done over the past, well, I should say 6 seasons, including retrospect reviews. CC, where can we find you online?
You can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn at CC Lilford, CC the Martian on Instagram, Twitter, Spotify, and YouTube, where my filmography, such as it is available. Recently made my senior short film available for public consumption, unlisted it. It's apparently got flagged for bullshit copyright crap in a couple different countries.
Yeah, I heard of that, yeah.
I was pissed, but I mean, so like I'm dealing with that. So if any views to kind of help me with the YouTube algorithm would be nice. Hopefully more work coming soon in the new year. I will not let this keep me down. More time you give me, the more I will write and create. So let's go.
Yeah. Summer, where can we find you online?
You can find me on YouTube at Movie Junkie for Life. You can find me on Facebook at Movie Junkies Continued. And you can find me at redmangoreviews.com, where I am the horror head writer over there.
Nice.
Right. And last but not least, Tracy Gutsu, where can we find you online?
I'm on what is that thing? I'm on Instagram as We Are Tracy. We Are Tracy, one word. I'm on Twitter with Tracy J. Hutchings and Faceboys as Tracy J. Hutchings.
I love how you say feast, boy. All right, folks. But yeah, thank you so much for coming through.
We
CC
did
and-
it!
Yes, we did. CC and Tracy in particular, thanks so much for coming through as far as the collaborations that we've done over the over quarantine basically. Tracy, hopefully one day I will meet you in the flesh, but in between time,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, CC, sir.
No, it's been a fun year. It's been great to like renew my. It's been great over the last few years to renew my connection with you guys and get to like have more appearances on the show, especially this year. Yeah. It's been
for sure. And for one thing, CC though, just how you go in deep in terms of just discovering or rediscovering films. That one like that's pretty much inspirational to me though, because yeah, I mean
thanks.
this year has kind of beat me down in terms of that, like where should I put my creativity and all that kind of stuff. But it's like I could still kind of do the stuff that I love, and that's why I'm glad I have this platform here. I'm glad that I have you guys that understand where I'm coming from as well. I know just where we could talk about films. That's pretty much what it is, right? Of course, Summer, thanks for coming through as well. I mean, you and
Always a blast.
Julian, who couldn't be here unfortunately. I mean, you all been knocking it out as far as this, as far as your writing goes. You know what I mean? Same thing same thing to Alice as well too. I mean, just with the writing aspect. So yeah, and of course Ricardo. I mean, thanks
Yes,
so
sir.
much for just being on board. You know what I mean, from day one.
Then how-
I am down for your Twitch channel. So just let me know when it's up officially. And,
Yeah,
I'll
the,
check
the
it out.
the idea gonna be just me playing some of my favorite games classically, and then I'll play a couple of new games like Back for Blood, which I'm super excited for because I was itching for a Left 4 Dead sequel for a while now.
Right.
The idea behind it is just gonna be just mostly meditations on writing, Monday morning quarterbacking, stuff like that. Like, hey, they should have do this with the game. They should have written it like that. I'll probably like play Mass Effect Andromeda and then complain about what they should do with Mass Effect Andromeda. Stuff like that. Stuff
Right,
like that,
right,
right?
right.
And then it's me. So it's just me and my incredible ego, being on full display for this.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's
that's
just
the idea.
it's basically you talking your mind while you play games. It's like
Well,
what
yeah,
you
that's it. I
normally
mean,
do when you play games is just you're
right. It's a
verbalizing
Twitch
it.
channel.
Nice.
Yeah.
I.e. every other Twitch channel out there, right? So,
Yeah.
right.
And one more thing, Ricardo, 2021, Pearl that book now.
Well, I'd take it launched right after the book done. So after the book's put out, the book is done. So by the end of the month, the celebration time will be Joe Biden's inaugural. So that's what
Okay,
yeah,
I see that. I see that.
yeah.
Big
So
time
it's
and
that.
whatnot,
As I
yes.
say, I considered everything a return to sanity. The end of COVID, the end of Trump, and then the end of me and this book.
I love it. I love it. But
Right.
yeah, seriously though, guys, thank you all for thanks for coming through, and you guys who are listening to this, feel free to let us know what were your favorite and least favorite movies and TV shows of 2020. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. So once again, guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whenever this is. This was Matthew Bailey and Ricardo Medina. Thanks for coming through.
Hey, yeah.
Sommerleigh Pollonais, thanks for coming through.
Always a pleasure, guys.
Alice Oscura, thanks for coming through.
Thank you. Thank you so much, man. And it was fun.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. CC Lilford, thanks for coming through.
Thank you for being a friend.
Take one,
And
take one.
Tracy, I promise I'm not gonna save you for last. I find I keep doing this a lot. I'm sorry. And Tracy, thanks for coming through.
Dude, anytime. It's been fun. It continues to be fun.
Yes, man. And this has been the season 6 finale of Bears Beats and Bailey. So until season 7, until
Well,
2021.
We gotta get a
Fingers
movie now.
crossed.
6 seasons of a movie.
6
You know,
seasons
yeah,
and a
yes,
movie.
Yeah.
6 seasons on a movie, Dread. So until 2021, I'm gonna try to be as optimistic as I can for it, but at the same time, just expecting the worst. But at least this year, more or less, it challenged me to do as much as I can creatively, and I would say, I did enough. So yeah, here's the more beneficial, and I would say just a hell of a lot better 2021, man.
Yeah.
All right, here's to that.
All right, so take care. Peace.
Peace.
You will.
Bye.